Gotcha. I just pushed it, so okay. Hey everybody, we're still trying to get a few things sorted, but we're gonna go ahead and go live, and I'm going to fix it on the fly. So if I'm unresponsive to you, we will take care of that as soon as we can. We had some last minute adjustments and changes that needed to happen, so we're kind of having some fun trying to keep up with all that. All right. I can change this. Excellent feedback. Excellent feedback. Okay, I got chat set up. Looks like I just need to add one more thing here. Okay, as soon as I can, I will do that for you. Okay, crap. I need to make another one of these, it looks like. Oh. Where'd it go? Criminy. That'll have to do. Okay. And then I want to come here. Okay.
We have their flight doctors.
I've got a little bit of
the
volume
crew.
on the feed.
So
How does that
there's,
sound?
3 flight doctors in there watching.
Thanks
this
for your
process.
patience, everybody.
And then we
I've
have
got
another astronaut, what we
a
call
second
our
set
crew
of ears
support
coming,
astronaut, who is,
talking to me
has
in
been
my
training with
headset
the
as
crew,
we
working
finish
with the
some
crew,
last
and
minute
also
prep
is
work
there
here
just to help out for all
and
the,
try to get
stuff that's
things
happening
going
today.
for all of you.
And you see they've got equipment there on the table. I imagine they're looking to check whether that suit pressurizes properly.
Exactly. That equipment is exactly designed for that, to check the pressure and the
Should
communications.
have a little bit
And
of audio
it's not
coming
the only
from the
pressure
feed
check,
for
right?
you.
No, once the crew gets back in or gets into the capsule, they will do a pressure check of their suits inside the capsule to make sure that
Attention
nothing
operators
I've got
happens
someone in
countdown
my
between.
time.
back
The
channel
clock
chat
continues
as well.
countdown to a
Thank you,
liftoff time of
Mikko. I have both Mikko and
9:03:31
Rich
p.m. local with
providing
an
me
instantaneous
feedback
window.
as I
We have
last minute
no
set
COLA
this up.
closures for tonight's
Go ahead.
T0 and likely not a surprise, but launch recycle is not an option for our instantaneous window this evening. At this time, the crew is at the ONC building and stepping into suit donning. Launch pad was cleared shortly after 1 this afternoon. At this time, Falcon 9 CVs are at MEOP, and the majority of the pre-launch checkouts are complete, with the exception of a few engine checkouts.
So let's try talking with the volume about there. Can I still be heard clearly over the feed, or should I just drop it all the way out?
With the next milestone being initiated.
Check 1, 2, testing.
3 hours.
Quieter
One
feed.
follow-up on the drone ship, which is watch item coming into today. The drone
And
ship
then
and
going
sport boat,
back to
Bob
normal
arrived on
volume
landing
now.
zone with plane to margin around T-5 hours and 30 minutes. And are stepping into the final day of launch checkouts, and we'll be on station to support tonight's attempt.
Okay, great.
And that was
Upper level winds look great for
All
tonight's
right,
attempt.
so
Tracking well below our
once
allowable,
again,
70%
thank you
on
everybody
gimbal
for
and 81%
joining.
on loads.
Looks like we've got a few
And
people
as
popping
briefed
in.
with
If you
crew,
have any
T-minus
questions,
2
throw them on
20
in the
minutes.
chat,
Launch speed
and
V
we will
for
do
this
our
evening is
best
at
to
30%.
answer them.
The primary watch item
I
taking
do
is
have a
quadrille
couple of
and flight
helpers in
debris
the
up.
back channel to
Weather is forecast
help
to
me out
improve
with
throughout
everything
the
tonight,
evening,
but
independent
you
of what it
just
looks
get
like
me
out the
on
window at the
screen
time.
today, so
There are no
go ahead and
concerns
make
with
fun
performance
of the
of any
beard
sections
or
of
whatever
Falcon
you
or
want to
Dragon
do.
launch countdown
We're gonna
procedures.
sit and we're gonna
And one of
watch.
the operators,
Everybody get ready to go
52.911 is
up
open
to space
and
for
to be utilized for any
Crew-3.
required crew contingency
Isn't this
action.
just fantastic?
For all
This
operators
will be
in
the
firing room 4 at KC,
fourth
and those at MCCX main and support room.
NASA
All
crewed
3 control
launch
rooms go
for
into a
SpaceX
lockdown
and
at
the
T-minus
fifth
45 minutes,
crewed launch for
and all operators
SpaceX
shall
in
remain at
total.
their console
How
monitoring their
fantastic
system
is
and
that?
maintaining full focus
I am,
while
of
the
course,
launch space system
counting
is armed.
Inspiration
Please note, in the
4
event of a scrub, that
and
the launch system will remain
the
armed until the completion
Demo
of propellant
2
offload.
mission.
I will reiterate this note to the team
So
around
you've got
T-minus 1
some
hour.
questions and
CE,
whatnot.
please provide a status
Gothsky
of
says
Falcon 9
hello.
CE here. Falcon 9
Rich is
Healthy,
one of the
and
people
we're
in
tracking no
my
issues that would
ear, as
preclude
well
an
as in
on-time launch this evening.
back channel chatting with me.
Thanks,
So,
sir.
see, that doesn't look too. I need to try to
All right,
position
that's
myself a
good
little
call out,
better here.
by the launch director
Oh,
there
not that
for
way. Maybe if I
SpaceX.
could come this
Everything
way a
sounding
little
good.
bit.
I particularly appreciated that he said, despite the way it looks outside the window,
MD
which
to
is gray and
countdown one.
cloudy
Yep.
and a little rainy,
Yep.
hoping the weather's going to pass.
Hoping the weather's going to pass and we'll be able to launch
Hey,
tonight.
MD,
Oh,
could you please
very
provide
nice,
the status
very
of
nice.
Dragon Health?
And we
No issues for launch
also
today.
have a special Mrs. in the
Fantastic.
chat.
Good to hear.
Hello,
At this
Rebecca.
time,
How are you
there
today?
Are no additional notes for the countdown briefing. If there are no
Good to see
additional
you.
comments or questions, this
Very
will
good.
conclude the briefing.
Okay.
We'll proceed
I
with
had
tonight's
to
attempt.
put all this together last minute, so
Really quick one
I
note
am
on
going
the
to go
screen,
off
number
screen for just a
23,
second
that's
because
astronaut
I
Stephanie
need
Wilson,
a beverage
who,
or
a
I will not be
veteran
talking
of,
for very
the
long. I'll be back
veteran
in
of,
2
space shuttle
seconds.
flights.
Yes, she's had 3 space shuttle flights, and she's been training as the backup to this crew. So she is the one that's there helping them out, being the astronaut most engaged with this particular crew.
And she'll go all the way out to the pad,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's a great shot of her there as she provides that support that's really important to the astronauts.
It is important. It's really important to have somebody that knows what you're going through to lend a hand.
This is the 3rd rotational crew to fly on a commercial spacecraft, and of course they bring a diverse set of experiences to today's flight. Let's break them all down. Crew Dragon Commander Rajachari. He's a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. He holds degrees in astronautical engineering and aeronautics. Chari is also a combat veteran,
gonna see
having flown the
if I can
F-15E
get
aircraft during
little
Operation
bit
CE on
of
countdown 1, comm check.
audio
CE,
coming
com
over
check.
here.
How do you read me?
I got you 5x5. How me?
You as well.
And LD, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
So that I can hear what's going on.
And LD, I have you 5x5. Help me.
Okay, great. Got you 5x5 as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
There we go.
And we'll hear these communication checks throughout the launch broadcast, and we'll try to pause so that you can hear those. And oftentimes, they include some big milestones.
Okay.
We were talking about Rajachari. He actually
All
deployed
right.
to the Korean Peninsula
Oh,
as a test
thanks
pilot.
for
He has
waving, Rebecca.
accumulated more than 2,500 hours of flight time in various military aircraft. Shannon, it's his first trip to space, and he's the commander.
I know that is actually quite.
I don't know
unusual,
about
but,
all of you
it's
out
just
there,
a testament to all the
but
experience
my
he brought to
favorite
the office
beverage
and all the hard work
is
he's
a
been
nice
putting
ginger
in
ale.
getting trained up for this flight.
Absolutely. Pilot
And
Tom
it
Marshburn
always
is suiting
hits
up
the
for
spot.
his 3rd space flight. He's the veteran. He previously flew on the Space Shuttle Endeavour in STS-127 and on the
there's
Russian
my
Soyuz
audio.
in Expedition 3435
there it is.
while helping
Okay, good,
assemble the International Space Station on STS-127. Marshburn performed 3 spacewalks totaling almost 19 hours. The North Carolina native holds degrees in physics and medicine. And Shannon, he's the
right.
Crew-3 pilot. And you were both in the same astronaut graduating class of 2004, I understand?
We were, and it's really nice to be able to see some of my classmates going up in space.
And he's got, he came from emergency medicine, so he's a good guy to have on board.
He's a good guy to have on board, absolutely.
Mission Specialist Kayla Barron is about to make her first trip to space. The Washington State native has degrees in nuclear engineering and systems engineering. As a submarine warfare officer, she was a member of the first class of women commissioned into the submarine community. And she deployed 3 times while serving aboard the USS Maine. Shannon, she's doing your role back in Crew 1, the mission specialist.
That's right. So the role of the mission specialist in the Dragon spacecraft is to
So
assist
I
the
am
commander and
streaming
pilot
to
in
all
their
of you
duties. So
from
everybody's working together to
the
make sure, the crew's getting to
half
space
backward
safely.
state of
She seems
Utah in the
comfortable.
United
Call.
States.
There's a nice little
Where
wave from her.
are the viewers
Kayla.
coming in
And good luck.
from?
And she
I'd like to
actually,
hear
interestingly enough, has not seen
in
the launch.
chat
That is true.
where
Her
you
first
all
launch will be
are.
from the inside of a capsule. That
And
is pretty exciting.
That's gonna
maybe
be
there's
something else.
something cool
The
going on
second
where you
mission
live.
specialist is Matthias Maurer. He, too,
besides
will be
sitting
making
watching
his
this stream.
debut space flight. He will be the second European astronaut, there he is, to fly on Crew Dragon. Maurer is from Sankt Wendel, Germany. And is a
Monster
doctor of
Energy
materials science
flavored
engineering.
called
He is the
Mule.
inventor of more than 10 patent applications and
A ginger
joined the
ale,
European
okay.
Astronaut Corps in 2015.
I have
Maurer has spent
not
16
seen
days
a
underwater
Monster
during the NASA Extreme
ginger
Environment
ale.
Mission Operations Challenge, and he has trained
Although
in sea
I
survival training
have-
off the coast of China. Kind of like having a
I
MacGyver on
have
board,
a
with all those
Yes.
hard time with
exactly. And
energy
he's gonna
drinks.
bring a
I
lot
don't,
of, talent to the science program
People
going on.
don't like me when I have
Each
too
of
many of
these 4
those.
crew members will
They
be
get a
part
little
of
bit,
Expedition 66
quick.
once they arrive at the International Space Station, and we'll give you a closer look at each of them as we get
Scotland.
closer to launch time.
Rebecca's coming in
As
from
the crews
Scotland.
continue to work. When
That's
you're
probably a
in this
terrible,
position
terrible
to give yourself
imitation.
down, Are you mainly focused on the task at hand?
I have been
or
out
do
of
you
bed
allow
from a
yourself to
short
kinda
nap for
think about
just a little
what's
while.
about to happen in a few hours?
Uh,
I think all
we
of it is
had
going on. You're trying to enjoy the
wonderful
moment, but
interview earlier
obviously you have
today.
very serious stuff to
A
do, so you
second
think about you
time
sort of
we've
bounce back
interviewed
and forth
Rogue
and have all the
Space.
emotions.
And we'll be
Pretty much
editing
the
that
same.
together
I've heard that,
and getting
that,
it out
you
to
know,
all of
sometimes, in
you
fact, Caleb Barron on,
fairly
a
soon.
podcast recently
Probably
said
next
that
week
she was in and out
sometime
of
we'll have
this-
it done,
of
but
these strong
uh,
emotions, sometimes
it will be
pinching herself
it
going,
will
"I
be on
can't
top of all
believe
of our
that I'm gonna do
regular
this." And then because you're
editing
training
and
so much,
projects.
you just kind
So
of fall into that regimen of training,
if
and it doesn't
anything
seem
needs
real.
delayed, it will
Exactly,
probably
exactly.
be
That is
an
what's so
interview.
interesting about this, because you have trained so much, you've gone through all these procedures and processes.
But I
and
might
then
be
now-
told
now
otherwise
is
on my
the actual
priorities.
one that's going to take you to orbit.
Oh yeah,
We
Spike
see,
is chirping
Thomas
away.
Wagner talking to the suit techs, and I understand
He is chirping
you
away a
develop
lot.
bit of
Maybe I can
relationship
go
with the suit techs, right? Because
put him
these
behind
things,
a door,
first of all,
or we
are
can just
custom
deal with
fitted
it.
down to
I'm
the
inclined to
centimeter,
just
apparently.
deal with it.
Absolutely. So one of the
'Cause
first
I
things
don't
that
even
happens
hear it,
when
and
you
I'm
get
next
assigned
to
a
him. Yeah, I
SpaceX
just-
flight is you go out to Hawthorne and
Stations
you
are
It just doesn't
Maiden
register
and
with
has
me,
arrived
so-
at the White Room. And additionally, all 4 crew are through successful leak checks at this time, well ahead of schedule.
Sounds like we're ahead of schedule, but you were saying?
Yep, ahead of schedule is good, better than being behind schedule.
For sure.
So you get measured for your spacesuit, and so they do build it just for you, and they spend a lot of time making sure
can't
everything
tell
is right. And
if
in fact, when you're
the
in training,
NASA
in
feed and
Hawthorne,
the
they are there
SpaceX
to help you
feed
get suited up each time you need to get
are
suited
the
up.
same
and so
or
you have
not.
familiar faces here while you're getting suited up, ready for launch.
You see them a lot.
They don't quite
Crew
look
3
the same.
is scheduled
It
to arrive
looks
at the
like
station just days
SpaceX is
Um,
out on the
after
pad
astronauts
right
from Crew
now,
2 have already
and
returned home from a
NASA is
record-setting space flight.
obviously
At
in
10:33 p.m.
the crew
Eastern
prep
time on
room.
Monday night, Crew 2 safely splashed down in the Gulf.
So
off the
in
coast
about
of
40
Pensacola.
minutes, we're going to have
The international crew
the
of
access arm
astronauts, you
retract.
see them there.
So
Shane
the
Kimbrough,
crew should
Megan
be
MacArthur,
on
Jack's
board
astronaut
before
Augie
that
Berthier,
happens.
and East astronaut
I'm going to
Kamal
go ahead
Pesquet
and
spent
assume
199
that
days in
they will
orbit.
be on
This
board
was the
before
shot
they
of
retract
them
the
coming
arm.
back down from the infrared camera. They were splashed down.
Spike
A
is saying
beautiful
hello,
shot
and
down
he's
near
the
the
TSN mascot. Yeah, you know,
They surpassed the record. The
I
previous
don't know about the TSN
168
mascot, but he
days
certainly
set
is
by
a
Shannon
mascot
Watson,
around
number
my
41
household.
astronaut.
Yeah, we figured that that record would be broken just about any time. So
Since
I'm
you were
glad
the
for them.
first operation, right?
It looks like the
Exactly.
feeds are the
So everybody
same,
that's coming after us will probably
but
break the
they
record.
are.
Right. Well, you
Well,
know,
let's
it's interesting
see.
because of what developed with the delay of this launch. You know, initially there was the weather.
Geez, almost
and then
10
we had an
minutes
astronaut
apart?
with a minor illness.
Yep.
So we delayed
Let's
10
see
days.
here.
Initially, this was supposed to be on Halloween.
Oh, that'll
Right.
explain things.
So
Boom.
they had
Let's
to spend
push
a
that
little
up
bit-
to
little bit
present, shall
longer
we?
than they may have.
They
There.
spent a little bit extra time. The Crew-3 crew spent a little extra time in quarantine, and the Crew-2 crew got to come home.
And there you see.
Okay,
Thomas
that would
Marstern
explain a few things.
having a
They don't look the same when they're 10
spirited
minutes apart.
conversation with somebody.
Oh,
Yep, because
hey,
they're
Rebecca.
ahead of
You know
schedule, they
what?
get to,
I
take a
don't
little time
have.
and talk to the folks in the setup room.
I don't have the fireworks set up.
Those Crew-2
I'm
astronauts, they were
gonna-
in these very seats, Shannon, back into April. We'll dive
I'm
deeper
gonna
into
see
the
what I
work
can
they
do to
did
add some
up on
fireworks here.
station a little bit later in the show. You know, what ended up happening because of the delay, there was no direct handover on the International Space Station. So now it's an indirect handover. Crew-2 is down, and
Because
Crew-3 is
fireworks
going
are
up today.
definitely
hopefully.
in order.
So they won't see Crew-2. What does that mean?
Yes, they won't see Crew-2 on the space station. So normally we like to
Not
have
entirely
our
sure
crews
where
overlap
I
a little
am
bit so that the
even-
outgoing crew can
even have
really
them
make
stored.
sure that the incoming crew is all
see.
set up to be efficient on orbit. And that means that they need to be told where everything is stowed, how things happen on the space station so they can really hit the ground running or fly the ground running or whatever is appropriate to say in space station.
Float around.
Float around
And
efficiently.
run in place.
Yes.
The crew has been training together for months, and each has their own unique connection to the mission. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tom Marshburn, he flew
There we
on the
go.
space shuttle. He flew on the Russian Soyuz, and now Dragon. And it is the first time Tom Marshburn is the only veteran on a space flight. He's with 3 rookies. But he says he can't wait to see the looks of joy on his crew members' faces in microgravity when they hit orbit for the first time. You got to see that.
I got to see that. I was sitting next to Victor Glover, and it was his first ride into space, and so it was pretty exciting when he
There we
officially crossed
go.
the line and became a spacefaring astronaut.
And who let him know that he crossed the line?
Oh, that was me. Yeah, so he was busy
All right,
doing
there's
work,
your
and I was
fireworks.
watching the altitude. So as soon
It's
as
a
we
little,
crossed, I
little
gave him big
clunky.
congratulations.
That was
But
nice.
there's your fireworks, Rebecca.
And
Thank you so
Roger
much
Chari,
for
he's
the.
accumulated more than 2,000
What would that
hours
be?
of flight time,
99
as we mentioned.
pence?
He flew the
Is that how I would
F-35,
say that?
F-15,
I am
F-16,
terrible with
the
international
F-18.
money.
He flew combat
Ah,
missions.
sounds like
and,
I
Operation
guessed correctly.
Iraqi Freedom, and he deployed in support of
Just,
the Korean
just this
Peninsula.
much shy of a
Raja
pound.
is the commander of the spacecraft, but it's also his first time flying to space, and he's a member of the NASA astronaut class 22.
Oh,
known as the
no.
Turtles, and
Well,
they're talking
that
about
makes
taking
that
over.
makes me even more
Yes,
grateful.
we
Thank
have
you
a
so
couple
much
of
for your
turtles on this
support.
flight, so
and,
it's good to see the new kids
and
getting their
it's
turn in
it's
space.
just
Absolutely,
just
and the other
really,
one is
really-
Kayla Barron. It will be her
I
first
can't
flight
tell you what
as
it
Lieutenant
means
Commander of
to
the US
have
Navy,
someone out
submarine
there
warfare officer.
who
She was lucky enough to meet
is
an
willing to support
astronaut
what
and
we
hear
do
about
here at
flying
Team
on the space
Space
shuttle
with
and,
a
heard what it was like
with
to
a
build
little
the
bit
space
of
station. She says
coffee
that's
money.
what
Like I don't
inspired
I don't
her
expect
to
it
get
from any
into
of you out
space.
there,
She sees parallels
but
between
I
working
can
on
tell you
submarines underwater,
every
where
tiny
humans
little
are not
bit
supposed
helps
to be, with working
because
in the
we don't
vacuum
actually
of
spend it
space.
on
You
coffee.
can attest that
We
because
save
you
all
did
those
an underwater mission
all
and you've been
those
to space.
bits and
I
pieces
did,
up,
and it is
and we put it
very
towards
good,
equipment.
analog,
For the most part,
working
right
underwater.
now,
We
we do
do
have
that
some
training to give
services that
crews,
we have to subscribe
a taste
to
of
in
what
order
it's
to
like when you're on the
bring
space
you
station.
stuff
You
like
have a
this,
schedule, you've got a ground control team dictating
as
what
well
you're going
as
to do each day, and so it's a very good
software
experience.
And
licenses
you're
and things
isolated
like
to
that. So
environment,
Yes.
which is something that is
as
very
we get
real
more of
with
those
these long-duration
bits of
space
money
flights.
piling up,
yes.
we will be.
Absolutely. You
We
don't
have
have a
some
quick trip
great
home
things
to,
in the
to
works
solve any problems that you might
for all
encounter.
of you.
Right. It's Maurer's
I can
first
tell
time
you,
flying. ESA named his mission
some of
Cosmic
us are
Kiss,
putting just our
which is
personal
basically
money
a
into
declaration of love
equipment and
for
things right
space.
now, but
They'll be working on 35
we have some
different
really
experiments over
cool
6
things
months.
just a couple
Shannon,
months
pretty
away
appropriate
because
title for as
I
busy
myself
as he's
have
going
been
to be.
throwing
Yes. Yes.
about a
indeed,
third
Cosmic
of my
Kiss, that's
income
great.
When
at
you
the
were up there
channel.
working
So
in space during your mission with Crew-3, what
not
was-
quite a space
what was the
flight,
thing
not
you
quite
enjoyed
that
the
much.
most?
It
Oh, goodness,
would
there's so
be
many great
fun.
things
You know
to
what? I'm
enjoy
gonna
about being in space. I
Dalsky, I'm
certainly
going to go
enjoyed the
ahead
work
and
we were
just give
doing,
you
all the
another
science,
blast
but
of
I also
fireworks
really
because you
enjoyed the
said woohoo.
camaraderie that I had with the crew. We were a very close crew. We had
But
5 people
I
on
have
the,
gotten a
the
rather
USOS
nice
side of the space station
cinema
and 2
cam
Russians, and we spent a lot of
and a
dinners
nice
together
lens
just
that I
talking about
can
things.
take somewhere
Sometimes
and
that's the best.
It is the best.
get some
During
footage.
one of their many trips to train at
Maybe
SpaceX
even do it
facilities in
live,
Falcon, our team had an
depending on
opportunity to chat
the
with
circumstances.
Crew-3, and here it
So
is.
we have some fun things in the works down the road. Probably January-ish. We will be doing something like that. Maybe February. Just kind of depends on how quickly we can get all the dollars and pounds together to accomplish that. So every little bit helps.
So he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience.
For any of you who aren't familiar with what we do here at Total Space, we have a lot of different things we do. We do some really short content, as well as some not so, not exactly short form, but videos under five minutes or so. We have some videos that are a little bit deeper. Mikko brings us deep dive, and he goes into detail about some subjects and things. We also have Becoming Multiplanetary, where Rich brings us all sorts of fascinating things that involve humanity becoming a multiplanetary species. We also have a bit of a news show with Ryan bringing us the space update most every week. I think we're probably not going to be tomorrow with it due to reasons, but pretty much every week he's very, very good and consistent about getting the episode out every week. So we look forward to seeing that every week. And then, of course, we have Mr. Producer, who is getting rested up. He's going to take over this stream and produce for us at a point when we get a little bit closer to actual liftoff. So I'm going to do this all by myself for now, and he will take over the stream a little bit later on, and he will take care of us once we get closer to liftoff. And then we'll get a little bit more of the fun features like the fireworks and the on-screen chat and things. I haven't been quite set up for those. It's good to see you, Max Q. Haven't seen you in a minute, but glad you're here.
Now, crew arrival is expected to happen in about 40 minutes or so, just inside T-3 hours. So
Yes.
currently we're running on the Dragon side.
Yeah, Mr. Other Producer.
At the launch pad,
that is
performed engine and stage
I don't know if I want to call out who it is, but we do have a couple other members of the team helping on the back end.
Everything's pretty much pressurized.
But for most of the button pushing, it's just me and my my multiple keyboards and mice and many buttons. I should probably at some point post a picture on Twitter or something of my my setup here in front of me, just so people have an idea of what I'm looking at. Not counting the keyboards, I probably have a good 100 buttons in front of me, and then add all the keyboards on top of that, and it adds up a bit. So, what do we have going here now?
Everything continuing to look good. As we're getting ready for the crew to walk out, let's go back to our team at Kennedy Space Center.
Thanks, John. It's now T-minus 3 hours.
All right.
39 minutes and counting here at Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
We are so glad to have a little bit of interaction with you guys. It's been a minute since we've done a live stream, so those of you who are here, thank you for joining us.
Into their own custom spacesuits inside their
What was that?
Now you see them chatting it up. In a few minutes, at T-minus 3 hours and 25 minutes, the crew will be making their way out of this famed suit-up room.
Yeah. For those of you out there who maybe haven't played with any of the buttons below the video, there's a little thumbs up or a thumbs down. Of course, I would prefer you hit the thumbs up, but whichever one suits your fancy, go ahead and give a click there. Feel free to share the video with your friends, assuming they're interested in such things as rocket launches. I know most of my friends don't give a hoot, but I do have a couple friends that if they were not so busy being parents and family members and whatnot, they would be watching a bit more often. But yeah. And then I'm going to just go ahead and guess that every single one of you out there in the audience has already hit the big button next to the bell that says subscribe. I'm pretty sure most of you would have done that. But if you haven't, go ahead and consider doing that. You know, those like buttons and all those buttons and things down below, they let YouTube know that you like what we do and that it's worth them promoting what we do and putting it in front of more people. So that is one of the best ways, and it's totally free, that you can support us here at Total Space Network. So
Commander Raja Chari and pilot Tom Marshburn, they'll be sharing a ride with the NASA flight surgeon, a position Marshburn held. And in the
thank you randomly.
And Matthias Maurer.
Random TV-ly.
And of course, we will follow the convoy every step of the way, live watching them go to their
Beards equals subs. Well, you know, I do put a little bit of effort into the beard. I do keep a brush at hand, and usually don't have too many tangles in it. And I do have a number of beard care products that I use as well. So the compliment is well appreciated because I do put some effort into it.
SpaceX Crew transportation system. Earlier, NASA's Marie Lewis caught up.
All right.
Who has been part of the commercial crew team since the very beginning.
Brittany Sims launch operations.
Gotsky has their crochet project out. What are you making, Gotsky?
On the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. This is one of several control rooms around the country.
I have a couple of friends that I chat with at least once a week, and one of them is rather crafty and likes to do various projects, one of which is crochet, and the other friend is more into bead and thread work that is called tatting, and I've seen her make some just fantastic jewelry and things, just tying knots in thread with beads in the way, and just really awesome stuff. Very, very effeminate, so it wouldn't be anything I could wear, but still looks really cool all the same.
And then as we proceed down the count, there's certain critical.
You have your own sheep, and you're making a shawl. Wow, that's pretty cool. I spent some of my early years on out in farm country, and I don't think there were any sheep on the farm that I was on, but some of the neighboring farms did have sheep, and one of the big fields next to my house had some sheep, as well as one big mean do they call it a steer or a bull when it's just a big breeder male? I forget, but we were not allowed to go in that field because he was bigger than we were, and he would trample us. He was not a friendly sheep. Even the dogs didn't really go in that field very much. It was a bit of an anomaly, if I remember correctly. He was very ornery.
Sitting at another SpaceX launch as they're launching our astronauts to the International Space Station, and they're certified. So it's really exciting, you know, the fact that I was able to see it and see it where it was at in the very beginning, and now here still being a part of the team where it's operational. I just get even more excited to think about where are we going to go with these commercial partnerships in the future.
Are there
Special
any
shoes
superstitions or traditions that you have with the launch team in this room?
I actually do. I wear a special pair of shoes. Since,
So,
the very first
for
mission,
now, we're just doing launch prep. What is everybody's favorite part of the launch prep? You know, do you like seeing the spacesuits? Do you like hearing the background stories like we're hearing now, where one of the control room operators is telling us a little bit about their procedures and their day-to-day as they support these launches? Do you like hearing the backstories about the astronauts? Do you like watching some goofy guy with a beard try to make things up to try to keep you entertained during the launch preparations while you look at the pictures that are coming at you? We have the Interspace Network chiming in as well. I think I know who that is, but I appreciate that as well. Hello.
Tell me why you kept that photo there.
Space Farmer. Lots of stars. Do I telescope astronomy? I would like to. I would like to get a telescope. I'm mostly focused on photography and video gear right now. Although with the lens I just got, I can probably do some decent nighttime video. I don't know if my camera is very good at doing that, but something I've been interested in trying, other than it's really hard to do that with my current sleep schedule, as I'm asleep until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I get to work at about 3 o'clock in the morning my time, and by the time I get home it's nice and bright outside. So timing wise it's a little challenging, but I believe I could do some telescoping with my camera. We have not seen any of the aurora here in Utah that I'm aware of. I haven't seen any pictures that were from here. It's a little bit, they would be visible just a little bit further north from us. Even an hour north of where we are, an hour's drive north, you'd be able to see a lot more of the aurora and things like that, especially with as much activity as we've had lately. My goodness, a lot of pictures floating around out there.
But in fact, very thin level of moisture up there with those clouds that you see on the screen right there.
Yeah, I'm just reading that now. Yeah, I did see the aurora picture you took, Gotsky. That was quite neat. It's always neater to see a picture of something cool when there's a connection to the photographer, even if it's somebody you know, their friend took the picture. So like my friend's friend, even though I'd never met you till today, but now I know, hey, you were the one that took that picture. That makes it even a little bit cooler. So I'm glad you were able to get that picture and share it with all of us.
The hallway and look at the beautiful art inside astronaut crew quarters, 23,000 square feet.
You have preliminaries beginning tomorrow, but launch.
You've seen that art. That's a nice touch that's just been added recently.
The overcast weather looks like it's a little bit drippy. They got their umbrellas out.
The whole history of our space flight that we've done in this country, and so we've got.
Yes, I am about 20 minutes from the Idaho border in Utah. So I am often up in Idaho. I'm also not far from Wyoming. You're gonna drive through my town on your way to Bear Lake if you come up this way. So yeah, little old Logan, Utah. We have Utah State University here.
And installation of the LiO cartridge is complete.
Look at all them shiny special edition Teslas. Send it, yes.
That's a good thing. And I believe the license plate on that car in the back said.
Do they all have, it looked like they all had similar license plates, or were they identical license plates?
Yes, indeed. Each time the Tesla seemed to have a different.
Notice that one has a 3 instead of an E.
Nice little message.
But they could have all slight variations of that Send It theme.
That'd be great.
Kyle on Twitter
I haven't even noticed that before.
crew members are rookies. Will NASA and SpaceX have
Yeah, we have preliminaries and things like that here in the U.S. as well, interspace.
And see Earth down below?
I suspect that they will. We usually have the cameras on inside the capsule. The real question is, do we have the satellite linked up to get that video feed back to the ground?
A live video feed would be best, but I'm not sure we'll have that. But they do have cameras. And so the next question is from Mad Dog on Twitter, and she asks, I'm assuming that, why
The Wise mission was developed here. Yeah, I think that was Space Dynamics Lab in cooperation with
As a general rule, SpaceX will reuse both boosters and capsules.
one of the departments up there on campus. So Space Dynamics Lab is both a part of the university and an independent company. So they are part of the educational process, and a lot of people in some various programs do their internships with Space Dynamics Lab, and then it's also an independent company, and they put on the SmallSat conference every year, which will be very interesting to see how they when they get to doing that in person. This year, I wasn't even sure they were going to do the conference, and then all of a sudden they were doing it virtually, almost without warning. So, hi, civilian space. And so I was not able to set aside time to even, it was less than a mile from my house, and I couldn't even show them any support. I felt a little bit guilty, but I didn't find out about it until, hey, we're starting in an hour.
Falcon 9 rocket. The capsule named Endurance by the crew. And here's our question. Shannon, how can you compare the G's when flying Soyuz versus Falcon 9 Dragon?
Would you prefer that I turn up the... Actually, I am going to do that. I am going to turn on the stream volume for a minute and go stretch my legs for about 3 or 4 minutes, because I didn't have a chance to do that as I scrambled to set this up. So I will be back in just a few minutes.
Falcon 9 in the second stage, you just keep accelerating G. So you start off pretty slow, and then as you get farther along in that period of time where you're on the second stage, the G loads just increase the whole time. So when the engine cuts off, you're at 4.5 Gs and have been there for a little bit of time.
So it's a slow, steady increase. It's just go, go, go. You feel the pressure on your chest.
Yes.
It's pushing you into your
It's pushing you into your seat, and you kind of feel like you're being smushed like a cartoon.
Like a cartoon. Well, but it's got to be an amazing experience when that engine cuts off.
Absolutely. It is so fascinating when the engine cuts off, because all the vibrations and noise that you've been hearing goes away, and you know you are floating. Even though you're still strapped down into your seats, you know that you are floating.
We have one more question we'll take from social media. And we appreciate, if you want to send your questions in, send them to #AskNASA on Twitter. And our next question, what do the astronauts do to keep morale boosted?
Oh, well, I think in general, astronauts have pretty good morale, because they know the end goal is a chance to go into space. But in times like this, when there's a lot of delays, it can kind of, your morale may lag a little bit, but you get to spend time with your families, you get to review the task ahead. So most of the time, they just stay focused.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, the delay and what the crew did. We actually heard or got a note from the program manager of the commercial crew program, who had received an email from Roger Chari, and he expressed his appreciation for all the work that goes on behind the scenes for the Commercial Crew program to get ready for a launch like this. I know, Shannon, you can appreciate that. And he said that they've spent their time doing dry running the heck out of the EVAs that they're planning to do, and getting smarter about Dragon, so we hope that that will pay dividends in execution shortly. Working hard, and here they are, the 4 Crew-3 astronauts, as they walk down the hallway on their way out of astronaut crew quarters.
Yep, and they're waving to the folks that work there in crew quarters to get them ready to go, and they'll be stepping into the elevator that you see there. And at the back of the elevator, there should be a big sign that a lot of people from the Kennedy Space Center have signed.
We see that there. You can see the signatures on the left-hand side.
Yep, it's a nice piece of history that's done every time.
Did you get a chance to see that when you walked in, Shannon?
You got to look quick, because once you turn around, it's hard to crane your neck around to look behind you.
We've noticed that. Once you're in the suit, you've got to completely move your entire body in order to get to the direction of where you want to look. But certainly a wonderful moment for everyone, as we were talking about all the people who support this program, to put their signature on and have it seen by the astronauts as they go down that elevator and on their way out to the launch pad.
Yes, as crew, we are well aware of the literal thousands of people that work to make spaceflight happen, and we are so indebted to all of them.
Crew-3 actually spent the time together watching Crew-2 land.
Yes.
Which I imagine, they didn't know that they were going to be here on the ground initially. They thought they were going to see them in space, but they all got together, like the family that they've become, and watched them come down.
In fact, the whole office tends to get together whenever we can to watch the launches and landings.
And I'm sure the astronauts who are flying appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Yes, you have different levels of family. So you've got your tight-knit family as the crew on one space flight together, and then you've got the astronaut family, which really encompasses all the international astronauts as well.
And we are just moments away from seeing Crew-3 astronauts exit the operations and checkout building. You're looking at the doorway.
On countdown, crew displays are configured for crew ingress 7 minutes ahead of schedule.
And that's the advanced team that's out there at the pad?
That's right. So we've got to pause here because, as you've noted, everything happens according to a timeline. We're a little bit ahead, so the crew may not walk out immediately, but when they do, they'll be right on the timeline to get them out to the pad at the right time.
That shot there, you see some members of the media and press corps looking to get photos and pictures of the astronauts as they walk out and have been walking out of this building, going back to the Apollo program. A sense of history, does that come over you as you are walking through, following the footsteps of some of the most amazing astronauts that have dared to go into space and accomplish these great achievements like going to the moon?
Yeah, it certainly did for me. I can't speak for all astronauts, but I suspect so because, growing up, we have seen this walkout so many times on TV, and then now you're actually getting to do it yourself. It can be a bit overwhelming. Looks like we're still waiting.
And we are just seconds away from the astronauts of Crew-3 walking out. You can see them back there behind the window of the door, gathering.
A little bit, waiting for their cue. Waiting for the cue to come out and be able to greet their families before they head off to the launch pad.
And this is oftentimes...
Okay, everybody, I am back.
The newsreels and on the internet.
Somebody sprung a leak.
To go to their rides and head to the launch pad. And there's stickers around this as well, Shannon. I believe you've got one up there.
Yep. As mentioned before, crews like to put their stickers on just about anything they can. So just above the door, next to the NASA meatball there are stickers from each crew.
I think yours is covering a little bit of the A.
Did Rich pull the short straw? No, Rich is just happily willing to help us in the background.
Their first steps outside before their journey to space.
I love how they have the ninjas. it totally doesn't make any sense
Walked out and are
for them to be carrying around swords on a launch site, but they do, and it's just such an interesting thing that SpaceX does.
We are 4 minutes
So
out.
fascinating. What do you guys think of the ninjas? It's quite the backpack of gear he's got on as well. All sorts of, not just swords. I think that's the first time I've noticed a backpack on him. I've seen the swords before
You
though.
don't want to go to space.
Is that the first time
Yeah.
they've done the backpack? Have you guys been paying more attention than me?
So now each crew member standing in front of their family, saying a few words.
Got people in the crowd shouting things like "I love you" and whatnot.
Yep. Crew's
Quite.
been in quarantine and they remain in
Might not even be a family member, but usually I think it's family and press and dignitaries, politicians, and members of the NASA staff for the most part that are allowed into that little area there.
Here's Roger tapping his
So
chest.
fascinating,
His
so
heart.
fun. I love those DeLorean doors. I just love the DeLorean doors on the SpaceX
Well, it was a bit surreal
version
because
of the
it was,
Tesla.
my turn to
I
go to
totally
the launch pad
would
for real,
want
but it
the
was really
DeLorean
nice
doors.
to see my husband there and get to greet him before I got on a rocket. Of course, he's an astronaut too, so
I would
been
love
in
to
the other
own a
position
Tesla.
watching him launch into
I
space.
keep thinking I need to
You know the feeling on
sell
those?
all
I do know
my
the feeling on both sides.
trailers and truck and car
Andy
and
Thomas?
Yes,
buy a
Andy
Tesla.
Thomas.
Who,
But I
flew on
am
space
not in a
shuttle
situation where I
with the
could
return
do
to flight
without the truck.
after
He did.
Columbia.
He was
Or
on
the
STS
trailers.
114.
But
He
I
flew into
do-
space 4 times and
I
actually
do
spent
like the idea
4
of
months
getting
on
rid of
the
all
Mir
that.
space station with the Russians.
Hmm.
More
Getting-
waves there to the
Yes.
family.
Gonna be closing those doors any
The way
second
the doors are
now.
configured on those Teslas gives you
It looks
plenty
so
of view.
funny
Yeah.
to see them
More
kind of
important for the
fold
astronaut.
down.
And it makes it
The way
easier
it
to get
does.
into the Tesla.
It does indeed.
It's a little bit
Oh,
weird.
they're shutting
Oh,
the
looks
doors,
like we
so
have a
soon they'll be heading
little
up
bit
to
of
the
a
launch pad.
And these seats are assigned.
hiccup
These
coming
astronauts
down
know
the
exactly
line
which
here
car
in
to
just a
go to.
minute.
Yes, yes, indeed. We've got to have it all
Yeah.
choreographed to make sure we've got
So
the right people
fascinating.
heading out to the launch pad.
That's right. Roger
What
Chari and Tom
is-
Osborne are in
I don't know if
the
I
second
saw
car,
anybody
second
put in
Tesla,
what their
and Matthias Maurer
favorite
in the
part of the
third
launch
Tesla.
prep was.
And there's another moment now, and the families get to come around.
I
the
think
car.
for a
They get to come
SpaceX
a little bit
launch, a
closer
crewed
for
SpaceX launch,
One last,
it's gonna
moment with
be
their crew member.
the Ninja. I'm gonna have to say the Ninja.
It didn't used to be this way.
With the
No,
Tesla,
this
the
is
SpaceX
actually
branded
a
Teslas
tradition that we
being a
picked
close
up from the
second.
Russians
Those are
and,
my
crews
two
launching
favorites.
on the
Probably third
Soyuz.
would be
So the
the
Russians have a
spacesuits.
space where
I
the
love
crew
those
walks out,
SpaceX
getting
flight
ready
suits.
to
They're
go to actually to where they're going to
they're
suit up,
just
and the families are there to greet them
so
before they head
not
Well done.
historical. You know, they did their own thing rather than try to look like
I think so. It really
um,
shows what an international partnership that we
the
have.
historical flight suits that we've seen
These astronauts
in the
are
past.
about to
There's
take
a word I'm
two-minute
looking for and I
interaction.
can't think of it
There's
for
gonna be a little
historical.
rocket now.
It's
Yes, yes. Each car
Historical
each
works,
crew
but
in
it's
each
not
car
quite
get to
the
pick
right
have
word.
A little playlist, and they will be cranking up the tunes as they're heading out to the
traditional
launch
might
pad.
work.
So mentioning that
Not
playlist,
quite
Tom
the
and
word I'm
Roger,
looking for
I'm
either.
gonna tell you a couple of songs that we were sent that they're gonna be listening to.
Legacy. That's the
Welcome to
word.
Jungle
Legacy.
by Guns N' Roses, Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue, and Don't
Yeah.
Stop Me Now by Queen.
That is a great collection of music for sure.
If that doesn't get you going.
I think so. They will not be sleeping in that car.
And it's interesting. The
Yes,
playlist
thank
is
you.
actually 10 to
Thank
12
you.
songs long. I'm not gonna read them all, but they've actually
I
sampled
guess we could
portions
almost
of
call
music.
you Mr. Director
There
because you're feeding me the information I
music start?
need. That
they
would
go.
be
Starts
what a
immediately.
director does
Yes.
for a
So as
live
we can
show.
see, the crew
They
is departing from
keep
Neil
the
Armstrong operations and
the
checkout
hosts
building,
and the
now
guests
beginning that 20-minute
Also,
session where
pumped
it's
up and
full-on
excited
test.
and
We are
information and
The ONC
throw
building on
ideas
schedule.
and cues
3
at them.
2 minutes,
So
3 hours,
I
15
think
minutes.
Rich is playing Mr. Director today.
And we are back on time. That escort there, a full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center to that location right there.
There is a way for me to throw some lens flare out here, but I don't know how to do it off the top of my head. I know my ATOM will let me throw a lens flare on things. But yeah, we're not going to be calling him Mr. J.J. Abrams without the lens flare.
Within a week to Cedar Falls, Iowa. My dad had come to the United States to get his master's degree.
We have young Rastafari there.
One of the biggest things I took from my Iowa upbringing is
it's so interesting to see pictures of people through different periods of their lives, you know, when they're young and where they are now, or older people, especially when you get to look at like someone who's really been around for a number of decades, and then you see a series of pictures taking them back to when they were children and whatnot. Like you can still see those same key features, and you know it's them, but it's still so different. They look so different.
To take it to the next level. One path is pilot training in my life.
Such a fun thing.
This engineering, I found I really liked engineering a lot more than I thought I would. And then a friend of mine had started talking about test pilot school, in which I realized, like, oh, that's actually a combination of both of these things. So for me, I think I first started thinking about the idea of being an astronaut was about the 2008 time frame, but it dawned on me that, oh man, this is not just some weird, like, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. It's actually in the path that's realistically achievable.
So what do you say? How about I introduce the 2017 astronaut candidates? Raja's a 39-year-old lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force from Cedar Falls, Iowa.
I guess I'm the only one who has a favorite part of the launch prep. That's okay. You don't have to have a favorite. Or maybe you just don't want to tell me what it is. That's okay too. You don't have to share that.
It's really more a matter for that 1% of the time where something off nominal happened. What is the best split of resources of, what is the best interactions between those players to get the best result? And so managing those different pieces of the puzzle is really, I think, what the crew part of the commander job is.
So I don't know how many of you out there saw today's new video that we launched. About a minute and a half long video about the Pritchell module that we'll be launching in just a couple weeks up to the ISS. We get to, this crew will be up there and waiting to receive the Pritchell module and work on getting it hooked up and connected and everything, and it's going to give us a few more parking spots on the, they're not docking ports. I believe they are all berthing ports. So it would be more for like the
International Space Station.
The resupply missions. They would be able to park those there, and then that would free up some of the other ports for crewed docking. So all the crewed vessels, the Soyuz, and the Dragon, and if the Starliner ever flies, that as well, have a docking port. And it's basically the same port, but docking is something that can happen autonomously. It's under the control of the vehicle that is making the connection. So like a self-powered ship will come in and dock at the port, whereas anything that's not self-powered that has to be pushed around by like a barge or something at sea would be berthed at the dock. So like the Cygnus and the Cargo Dragon, as well as the Soyuz Progress capsule, they are berthed typically. Although the Cargo Dragon can also dock. So it's just a matter of whether they are using the arm or not, basically, is the defining difference.
put them on the Mir space station.
Hey, we
so
have
we can
a
learn about long-duration space flight before
mock
we start
space
sending
station that they
astronauts
use for
to the
training
International
coming up
Space
here that
Station.
you'll be able to see
There's
inside of
something
the
about working at Johnson Space Center, I think that if
inside of the
anybody
old Saturn
has
V
ever
facility.
considered flying in space or wanting to, when you show up and you see the
all
incredible things
that.
that everybody is doing, it's hard not to get the bug to want to apply and become an astronaut.
Wonderful,
So I did 3
wonderful.
spacewalks
That's
and
good to hear
supported
that,
the
Mr.
4th
Director.
as the inside
When
crew
Mr.
member.
Producer
The main goal
finishes
for us
resting
was
up
to
and getting
take
ready
these
for that, he will be
batteries,
able
each weighing
to
about
check
200,
through and
250
verify all
pounds, and
that.
move them from the robotic arm that was holding
make
them
sure
from the
it's
space
ready
shuttle
for
and
us.
move them onto the space
So,
station. This had
thank
not
you
been
for
done
doing
before,
that.
so it's very thrilling.
Yes.
The long duration mission is quite a bit different from the shuttle mission. You really feel like you've become a resident of space, a resident of zero G. And you start to feel like you're getting an idea of how this works. I'm looking forward more
That
to
looks
flying with
like
people who've never flown
a
in space
re-entry,
before. This is a very unique crew.
maybe,
They are incredibly
coming in.
operationally savvy already. Those, I imagine from their prior jobs at ESA.
Although
and in the
I could be
military.
mistaken.
know
I
if
bet
they
if
can
I
do
was
the
listening
jobs,
to
no
what was
question
going
about
on. Oh
that.
no, that's the cars driving down the road. They're on their way to the launch pad. It's the blinking. There we go. It's a little easier to tell what it is when it comes full screen in just a second here. Yeah, the blinking lights and things. It looked a little bit like a re-entry when it was just a little small screen that you're still seeing. Just a second here. There we go. Now you can see full screen. It is quite clearly automobiles with blinking and flashing lights.
At the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, you're watching
spaceport
the launch of Crew-3,
security
just
vehicles,
3
as well
hours and
as
7 minutes away from
the
lifting off.
SpaceX Teslas
Shannon,
and all
you drove
the
out
ground
at
support
night,
vehicles
just like these astronauts. You
headed
don't see it a
out
lot.
to the launch
Well,
pad.
we were still a
So
little
we're,
bit daylight
as
while
you can
we-
see,
while I
about
drove out because
3
we
hours,
launched
just a
right
little over
after
3
sunset, so
hours
I
till
could see a few
liftoff.
people on the side of the road waving us on and cheering
So
for
we
us.
are
It was pretty
just
special.
getting
just gonna
started
say,
with all this,
there
and
are folks out lining the
we're
road
gonna
now. We may
we're
not
gonna
see them
switch
because of the
streams,
darkness, but,
hopefully
they're there to
seamlessly.
support.
Yes,
So if you're here
absolutely.
watching
It's
with
great
us,
feeling.
you'll seamlessly be
One thing you didn't
moved
miss
over to
as it
the
drove
launch
by
stream,
was the
which will
vehicle
be
assembly
run by
buildings.
Mr. Producer.
Hard to miss.
It's hard to
And
miss that,
then
even
we'll
in
take
the dim
an
light that
hour or
it's
so
currently,
break after we finish
that's currently shining on it right now.
the launch
But we are
festivities,
here, in the middle of
and
a
then
wildlife
I will
refuge,
come back
so,
and be
you're not
streaming
gonna see a
Rocket
lot of
Lab
city lights, you're not gonna see a lot of infrastructure around that illuminates.
Insight
but,
launch.
you can see the 3 Teslas being led by a
Love at
Kennedy
first
security
insight.
vehicle out there out front. It's about a 20-minute drive.
What do you guys think of the Rocket Lab launch names? I think it is quite cool that they are able to take a serious industry like launch providers and have some fun with giving names to the launches. Most other companies just tell you what is launching rather than give it a name. So,
As they drive by the VAB, they're well aware that there is a fully stacked
Mr. Director tells
space
me
launch
that
system
they're
rocket that
hilarious,
is
and
going
his
to
favorite
send
is
a-
running out of
an
tow,
Orion spacecraft
which
on a
of
test
course
flight
would be
to the
the
moon.
20th
That's right. I know they're aware
Electron
of it.
launch.
They're probably not thinking about
There's
that
also
right now,
another
but,
favorite,
they know it's there, and we are
which
all
is
looking
number
forward to its
10,
launch
which
early
is
next year
running out of
sometime.
fingers.
In fact, this camera angle is
And
from
then
on top
I
of
think
the
my
VAB looking
favorites
down
are the
525 feet
it's
up.
a little chilly up there
It is
or up
one of
here.
the largest
There were two that were
buildings in the
chilly
world
named,
by volume.
and those are
And there you can
both
see
fun
it.
for me
Yeah,
because
passing by the
I
press area
love
there.
Yes, you can see
spicy
them off to the
food.
right
I
there.
love
We
it.
can see them from our host desk position.
I'm gonna throw a little bit of TMI at you, but
Passing right
if
by
it doesn't
the
burn
VAB
for
on
3
the
days, it's not hot
pad
enough.
39A. Now the crew convoy is approaching the pad,
Yeah,
entering
not
what is
very
known
funny,
as
huh?
the blast danger area, or BDA. Before any pad technicians, engineers, or astronauts enter this area around the launch pad, the SpaceX and NASA teams have conducted internal go and no-go polls to make sure that the area is safe to enter. And on that ride is mission specialist Kayla Barron, riding along with Matthias Maurer. She has a unique background as a submarine warfare officer.
It's hard to watch all those cars go down the road and not hear Highway to the Danger Zone playing in your head.
I'm Kayla Barron, a mission specialist for NASA's SpaceX Crew-3 I was born in Idaho. My family moved a lot when we were kids. We lived in Montana, Colorado, but for most of my middle school
I guess
time
you can't really. You can only see the one hand. Like, come up here.
Richland, which is in southeastern Washington. I'm the middle of 3 girls. My dad's an engineer. My mom's a math whiz and a runner. They always really raised us to be ourselves, which was really cool for me and my sisters to all kind of find our own paths. I knew that I would want to find ways to challenge myself and become a leader. That's how I first got interested in joining the military and ultimately got interested in attending the Naval Academy, where I studied control systems and robotics engineering. When I showed up at the Naval Academy, I thought I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And we have this really cool training between our sophomore and junior year. I kind of think of it at like the Navy's job fair. You go spend a week with every single major warfare community: surface ships, submarines, aviation. And when I got to go underway on a submarine, I just felt like this is where I belong. It's not for everyone. It's kind of a fascinating world. You develop your own little microcosm.
Yeah, so
because you have to be
I was
able
just
to
thinking
provide
about some of the other projects we have that we're working on right now. We are, like I mentioned earlier, we just recorded a second interview with Rogue Space. Be sure to check out our first interview with them. One of the more fun guests we've had. I mean, we do have some fun with our guests when we interview them, but definitely Rogue Space gets a few extra points for having fun. So I'm very much looking forward to getting that edited and put out to you guys. We have a couple of scripts that have already been written and finished up, or really close to being finished up. We have a video on ABL systems coming out real soon here. That's just about fine-tuned enough to be ready to record. Let me pop over to. Yeah, we have one on saxophone that will be quite fun and interesting. It's a short one, and there's not a lot of B-roll, but should be interesting on saxophone spaceport. I can't say that. Saxophone spaceport in the Shetland Islands over in Scotland. So that'll be pretty interesting. And then we have a couple other scripts in the works. I know we plan on doing some other rocket companies and launch providers. We also have with Psyche launching in just a couple weeks. I believe Mikko's putting together a deep dive on that for us.
Has a degree in nuclear
I'm just waiting on another lens to come in the mail, and I will be finally filming a.
There is a shot of the pad. The astronauts are heading out there, and it's funny. We're
what was it?
We're about to introduce
Lagrange point video. The script has been done and ready, but I need 2 cameras to film it the way I want to film it. Have a little bit more fun with you guys than our traditional.
I hope I said that right.
Talking head videos that we've been doing. Try and get a little bit more creative with that. I also have another video that the script has been done and waiting for quite some time. That once that other lens is here, I will be doing that one as well. Of course, we have weekly space update episodes coming out.
For the Starlink launch, there's a static fire tomorrow. So as they drive out
there, what's coming down the pipe for becoming multiplanetary?
That's a good thing.
Do we have anything that we're announcing? We're talking about at the moment.
All stations core on countdown. Crew have arrived at the pad 5 minutes ahead of schedule.
So they're going to pull the cars around and park right at the base of the launch
That's
structure
right.
Pull right
Rich
up
tells
to the
me
pad.
that for
Right
BM,
up to the pad.
he's
Was it this
finishing
close,
sussing out
for shuttle
a
and
Team
Apollo,
Space,
would you know,
Team
in
Skies,
terms of the vehicle,
kind
getting,
of
access there to that?
eco-friendly
I believe it was. Now, I
kind
did not
of
fly the shuttle, so I can't tell you for sure, but I
kind of
believe
project.
they did bring the bus that was
without getting
carrying
into
the crew
too
out
much
there right
detail
up
there.
close to the launch pad as well.
I know we
That's a great
have
shot, as they
a couple
make
of
their way,
interviews that are
the
just
three
kind of
vehicles,
sitting, waiting on the shelf for
to the
for
rocket.
us to have time to get to recording
Before the
them.
crew makes their way to the
Um,
elevator at the ground level of
I
pad
know we
39A,
have
let's get a look at mission specialist and
we have a
ESA
gentleman
astronaut
that would
Matthias
like to
Maurer
come
about
chat with
him
us
making his first flight
that
into
used
orbit.
to work at
I'm ESA astronaut
Skunk
Matthias Maurer.
Works,
I will be mission specialist
which
on the
is
NASA SpaceX
Lockheed
Crew-3
Martin?
mission to the International Space Station. I was born in Germany. I grew up there,
JPL.
and for the first 20 years, I actually
He also
stayed
had
in the more or less
he
the
had
same area.
yeah,
I
he
was an
had some
ambulance driver
involvement with
for almost 2 years,
with
and I also
JPL
financed
as
my
well
studies
as
later on by
Skunk
working
Works
on the
and some
weekend.
other things.
I studied 2 years in Germany, material
But
science.
between
then I went for a year to the
everything
UK,
we've had
then
going
material
on
science, and discovered how
life-wise
much you
with
can learn
everybody on the
while
team,
being in a different country.
we
That was a huge
and
inspiration for me, and I
his
decided to
life,
keep on
we
learning
have
more
yet to be able
languages
to
and continue in different countries.
both be
In
available at the same
2008,
time to
ESA
record
started a
that.
call for new astronauts.
So
Out of 8,500 applicants, only 10 candidates passed all the tests and were considered suitable for astronauts. I
and
was
then
one of them. I was always fascinated by space.
I think we have
and
some
what
other
does an astronaut
things
actually do. So an
interview-wise
astronaut
in the
with
works,
a lot of engineering
but
stuff, to do
everybody is
science,
so
space,
busy. There's
to work with
so
international teams,
many
and the
launches
adventures that we are able to
and
live
missions
as
that
astronauts.
need to
In a
be
combination of these 4 facts,
gotten ready
engineering
just
on the
for
edge
just
of
to
what is
finish up the
possible,
year.
science, international
It's
teams,
hard
and
for
adventure
anybody to
that's only
get any
possible
time. I
as
know
an
we have a
astronaut.
couple of interviews
I think Crew-3 is
that
a kind of a rookie.
we've
crew
got the
with only
interviews,
one
but we
experienced
don't have them
spaceflyer,
scheduled yet
Tom.
with some
But on the other hand,
folks from
I don't
NASA
feel
to
like
talk
that we are
talk
rookies
with
at
us
all.
about
Raja
SLS,
has a huge
but
background
they
in
are
flying.
awfully
Kailash has a
busy
huge background in
trying to get
working in a
that
very
thing
difficult,
ready
highly
to
technical
launch
environment. I don't
in
consider both of them
February.
rookies.
So they're
I
not
believe
really
we
taking a
have
lot
an
of
extremely
time
good team, and after a few days in space, I
to
think we will be
specifically
there,
come
it will be
and,
our
and
environment.
talk to members of the press
Once we arrive on the
like
International Space
ourselves.
Station,
So,
we will run a lot of
and that's
experiments.
totally
My focus will be
understandable.
lots of experiments
You're
in the
not
material
upset by
science
them
domain.
being a little more
The name of
focused.
my mission is Cosmic Kiss.
I would
It's a
love to see
declaration of love to space,
SLS fly.
and especially to the 2 only
Quite a
oases
quite a
that we
beautiful
have in
rocket.
space,
A little bit
our
on the
beautiful
expensive
planet
side,
Earth and the
a
International
little
Space
bit on
Station.
the delayed
Patch is
side,
inspired by
but
Titus
nonetheless
Neighbor.
very beautiful and
4,000
very
year
cool.
old
Of
disk
course,
that was
it's a
found in
rocket.
Germany,
That makes it pretty cool,
and it
right?
shows to me that people already 4,000 years ago watched the night sky and were fascinated with the universe, and they probably asked the same questions.
So I don't
we
think
asked
I
ourselves.
don't
How
think
did the
I've done
universe
a
start?
Patreon
How
plug
did life come to
today.
our planet Earth? Is there life
So
somewhere else in the universe?
some of you viewers out there like to
There's a
show a
huge
little
number
bit
of
of
people
extra support
in
beyond
Europe,
the
in
like
US,
buttons
in
and
Russia,
and,
in
things
Canada,
below the
in
screen,
Japan. All those
and
people that
like to
contribute
throw a
that
little bit of
human
coffee
spaceflight
money
is
at
actually possible.
various
I wanna
creators.
say
We
thank
do
you
have a
to
Patreon
everyone
set up,
who helped me to arrive at the point
patreon.com/total
that I'm today.
space,
I will be
and we
thinking
have
of you when I
a
fly to
number
space,
of categories
and
there
send all
set
my
up
love to
depending
you down
on
the road.
how much coffee you want to buy us. You are welcome to do that. You can also follow all the hosts on Twitter. I believe we have the
Great hearing from Matthias
description
Maurer,
set up.
Especially
with-
inspiring how he worked as a paramedic to pay for his schooling on the weekends.
Such a diverse background, which is what we need as astronauts. We need people with all kinds of skills.
So true. He calls it a rookie crew, but, you know.
But they bring a lot of experience, so
They
rookie
certainly
in
do.
name only, I think.
We're looking live now at the base of Launch Complex 39A, the base of the launch pad itself. Those elevators, the same elevators that took space shuttle astronauts up to the top of the launch tower. And we're expecting an announcement any moment now that the crew is on the pad. We'll see them walk up to those elevators, but oftentimes it's interrupted maybe it's planned, by a little look up at the rocket.
Yes, the crews definitely want to take one last look at the rocket before they go climb inside. And so you will see them sort of leaning back and looking up. And the reason they lean back is, again, you don't have much maneuverability in those suits when you're standing up.
Not a lot of maneuverability, but a lot of protection should something happen in space.
Absolutely.
As we look at the elevators there is a specific path that you must take to get to the rocket, and you're looking at some of the shots of inside the launch tower. And Shannon, it's not a kind of find your way or even have anybody lead you. You've rehearsed this a number of times. You do.
You do come out and practice getting your suits, going out to the launch pad, so you know what needs to happen the day of launch.
And what are the white chevrons on the floor that we see there?
Those chevrons are actually part of the safety system that we have on the launch pad. So if anything should happen while the crew is out there by themselves before they lift off, and they need to exit the capsule quickly, those chevrons will give them the direction that they need to run or walk quickly. We don't really want them to run in their spacesuits and hurt themselves. But it could be dark. It could be you might have fog, rain, smoke, who knows. So you just need to make sure you are heading the correct direction.
And they stand out brightly against that black background. And there is the Dragon capsule.
Won't be long until there's crew inside.
It certainly won't. And you can see the systems that are connected inside. Those are temporary until they get them sealed up.
That's right. So you've got that hose going in there is providing some air circulation to keep everything temperate for the crew. And once they're inside, then the crew will hook up to the systems of the Dragon, and they will.
They pre-chill the engines with fuel, and they also pre-chill, now I know, the capsule.
They pre-chill the capsule, absolutely.
It's called the White Room, that area right there, and there's a lot of history behind that room as well.
Yes, that is the room that all the shuttle astronauts were in before they stepped into the shuttle for their flight, and so we have the same White Room in use for the Dragon flights.
And once again, we're back at the base of the launch.
The crew actually has to go up a flight of stairs. Look, I see one of the crew members right now.
And there comes the first two astronauts.
Looks like
Commander
they're gonna...
Raja Chari and pilot Tom Marshburn.
Yep, and it looks like they are going to take a look at the rocket. There they are, bending back, looking up.
Having a little chat as they look. At about 2 hours and 35 minutes, and just a few minutes from now, the astronauts will ingress or climb into Dragon with the assistance of the suit techs that you have seen right next to them all along. They'll help them get buckled in. Getting a nice good gaze,
yes,
looking up.
Good look. So now they're heading to the elevators for their trip to the top.
It is the years in the 1960s. Of course, it launched the Saturn V for the Apollo program. It was then upgraded to support the space shuttle. And then SpaceX took a lease of it in 2014. And the first flight after it was reconfigured was a CRS flight in February of 2017. And there they are, popping up from the elevator, having a look around.
That's right, and you'll see them head to the stairs to go up one more level with the suit techs and the team following behind.
And exactly what you mentioned, this is the additional flight that they must take to get to the top of Dragon. And it looks like Stephanie Wilson is in their group.
Yep, she will be.
The right of the pathway.
That's right. So when they're up at the top of the launch pad, the crew will actually get an opportunity to call their families.
Hello,
And
I'm
so someone's
back.
got the phone numbers they'll be dialing for the crew.
How is audio
and,
sounding
hand the phone
on the
over,
stream?
to the crew member. And I have to say, it's a little bit hard to hear because you've got that helmet around you, so it's not like you get the phone right up to your ear.
And it's got big buttons.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes.
I appreciate, maybe it's if for those who have gloves on, still manage to punch them.
Trying to get everything sorted back to where it
This is a
was.
split-screen view.
I had to restart one of my 500 pieces of equipment. So
The steps there, and they are all gathered now.
thank you for being patient and waiting for us while we solved all those glitch gremlins. Yes,
and so
very
they're
well
waiting,
worded,
either for the phone call or for the
Mr.
cue that it's
Director.
actually time to ingress the capsule.
So,
And now that we're
welcome,
here at the
welcome
launch pad
everybody,
at the top, it's a good time to
and
introduce you to the team that would lead a
back.
rescue operation in the
Thank you
case
so
of an
much for
emergency.
everybody joining.
Let's take a look.
Max gives us a pog in chat.
We're in the business of launching people into
Poggers.
space, and it is a dangerous job, and we want to make sure that the people who are going on the rocket know that
Yeah.
they're in good hands. My role is to make sure all ground operations run smoothly. We take human spaceflight safety very seriously, and we are ready to jump in at a
Doctor
moment's
Who.
notice with a team of fire rescue, decontamination.
It would only be a Doctor Who reference if I was wearing a bow tie, because bow ties are cool.
As a specially trained group of folks because these people are inside
Exterminate.
the blast danger area. And it's called that because they're operating.
I have been watching the latest series, the second series of Doctor Who on HBO. I grew up with the original series, so I'm not a huge fan of the more modern ones, but I do still enjoy them. I think I'm on season 8, which is the second season with Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, and yeah, I like it. I really like the older ones though. Some of those original black and white ones are pretty good actually, considering that like the whole genre didn't even exist. So I get a good kick out of them pathfinding how to make a Doctor Who. Very cool. And the original Daleks. Just you gotta love anyone who will use a plunger as part of a set construction. Like it's almost as good as the original Star Trek movie where they put used carpet padding on the inside of the elevator. And there was even a piece of it broken off. Just fantastic behind the scenes stuff. I work behind the scenes in entertainment, so I'm always picking sets apart and lighting and everything. So quite a bit of fun for me.
That is a great shot.
I don't know quite what caused me to freeze up, but I had an entire piece of equipment decide that it was not going to pump any signal through it, and all of my audio gets funneled through there as well as all of my video. So it was not a good thing to have happen. Hopefully levels are still pretty good. It should have had the correct startup state saved, so nobody.
SpaceX mission known as Crew-3.
Yeah. Everybody in the back end is telling me audio is about the same, so that is good.
NASA astronaut Shannon Walker.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I am
Wiping
so
the
excited
water
to be here
off.
tonight.
That's probably a good idea, as
I get to watch a launch with an astronaut.
as all that water could kind of make a bit of a mess in the on the inside of the capsule. And the last thing they need is foggy, steamy windows on the Crew Dragon as it heads towards the ISS. Are we pointing it in the right direction? I don't know. I can't tell. Gotta wipe the windows down.
Just right before the crew gets inside.
And it's a bit of a maneuver to get inside, Shannon, that you practice, and we're about to see that.
Yeah, you'll see that the astronaut has to carefully bend down and
Yeah,
step over the
yeah,
hatchway.
definitely.
They do this for a couple of reasons.
I love how they've got, you know, all the crew kind of ninja-esque outfits. It was probably them seeing what the outfits were starting to look like, that they went, you know what, we got to have a guy with some swords out there.
And we just saw Roger step inside, and next up is Tom, and it's they're carefully.
I don't get it, but I love it. I just love it.
You know, hold him up, say,
SpaceX
well,
ninjas.
Right. We do this just so the choreography needs to be just right. So Roger's getting settled inside. He will be followed by Tom. And then after that, you'll probably see the suit techs go inside and start assisting with...
I believe we probably missed the signing of the meatball there while we were
Good evening, Raja.
trying to solve some of the back-end issues here in my studio.
All right, for now,
So... did you guys happen to catch seeing that? Anyone in the audience see that happen while we had the nightmare going on here?
Watch your head.
Yep, watch your head, watch the seals.
As he goes inside and takes a seat right next to the commander, Roger Chari. And for now, let's check back in with Jesse and Courtney back at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Jesse?
Thanks, Daryl. Right now, we're watching the crew ingressing Dragon, which is just a space
Didn't catch that.
Climbing aboard. Ingress is what we use when crew members are getting into a spacecraft or airlock, while egress means the opposite. They're exiting. Before climbing into the capsule today, the crew completed a foreign object debris check or FOD check.
It's a little quiet in the budget
For any
seats.
substance or debris that isn't supposed to be on them or their suits, which could potentially
Here
cause
comes the
damage
next
to
two astronauts walking down the gangway, getting ready to jump on in. Yeah, let's have a little bit more commentary out there. What do you guys want me to talk about? I mean, obviously, I'm willing to talk about Doctor Who and all sorts of beard care products and whatever you want me to talk about out there. So throw me some ideas, and we'll see what we can talk about. I mean, we're not going to talk about everything. There are some certain things that are just a little bit too out of bounds for us to talk about on this channel, but I'm pretty open to talk about whatever we can within reason. So throw some comments at me, throw some questions at me if there's something you want to know. We'd love to hear about it.
And they are numbered 1 to 4 from right to left when looking at the seats. Raja Chari will be in seat 2 or the commander seat, and Tom Marshburn will be beside
there's these
him
guys
in
signing.
seat 3,
That's
which for Crew Dragon
fantastic.
is the pilot seat. Kayla Barron will be in seat 1, and Matthias Maurer will be in seat 4. Directly in front of the crew members are 3 displays, which they'll use throughout flight, getting inside into Dragon systems.
Just out of view there, you also have the SpaceX logo where the Inspiration 4 crew signed. And we will have the AX-1 crew be signing that SpaceX logo coming up not too far in the future. Was that this year or the early next year? I can't remember. I think it was early next year.
The crew looks happy as ever as they're running through some of these final steps. before climbing
AX-1,
into Dragon.
which is,
Again, this is
of
really
course,
the last
Axiom, who
stop on Earth,
are
right here in the White Room.
going to build their own commercial space station but they are working very closely with NASA and the rest of the international space community, and they are building it attached to the ISS, and then once it's completed, it will detach from the ISS and go its merry little way. So that's quite fun and
You can
interesting.
almost think of it as if you just cleaned your floors and you have something on your shoes that you don't want to bring into your house, you would take those off at the back door, and that's basically some of those steps that they're running
So
through
that
right
should
now.
be right about the same time we have the SLS launch. Be late February. So, assuming we don't experience any further delays with SLS.
So we want to make sure that we keep that outside of the Dragon capsule and keep that clean room environment inside of that.
So it'll be interesting to see what the construction plans are with, like, say, orbital reef, which is probably going to be a minute before we really see anything from that, and we're probably not going to hear about it until it's on the pad. That seems to be the way that a lot of the companies involved with orbital reef like to work. They don't tell us what's going on. They'll tell us what they're planning in the future, but they don't tell us about the steps along the way, and then here you have it, is kind of their approach. So I, for one, am looking more forward to the, criminy, I can't remember the name of it, with Lockheed Martin and the smaller one. It's a single launch commercial space station. That one seems really interesting to me, and a lot more usable. Probably has a lot better, more accessible marketplace for it.
Configured for the 4 crew members on board Crew-3 today. But underneath their seats is where the extra 3 seats would be. Since we don't have them, we actually
yes,
use
it
that,
is a little bit late on the other side of the pond. It was a bit of a challenge for me to juggle things around to be able to do roughly 5 or 6 hours of streaming tonight for all of you. Even though I'm on the U.S. side of the pond, I am on a United Kingdom sleep schedule. So I'm normally getting ready for bed in about an hour here. So it's
yeah, they are custom made, and we always say that
it's getting a bit late in my day as well. We're glad you came to join us, Max. Hopefully you'll get some good rest. You're always welcome to come and watch the replay later. We promise not to make fun of you after you leave. Well, maybe we don't promise that, but we'll keep it to a minimum at least.
I have you loud and clear, Matthias. Guten Abend und willkommen.
Wonderful, Sarah. I also have you loud and clear. Ich freue mich auf den Flug.
Yes, that's a good one. So yeah, with a 5 or 6 hour stream, any of the coffee sponsors out there, give us a shout out, would you? Love to hear from you.
And you can see the suit techs are there helping them get strapped in. This is a 5-point harness, buckling them into their seats. Looks like Roger Chari and Tom Marshburn are already buckled in as Matthias and Kayla.
Yeah, isn't there a coffee brand out there called Rocket Fuel? Maybe I should look into getting some of that around here.
Again, the suit techs are
Actually, coffee sounds really good right now, but then I will not get any sleep after I finish streaming tonight before I've got to get up and go to my day job that's in the middle of the night.
Is packed away exactly how they planned.
Oh, I'm hearing that Rocket Fuel got discontinued.
Procedures before they close the hatch.
One of the things we've mentioned
That's
several
too
times
bad.
are those umbilicals that they get hooked into once they're seated. Those umbilicals allow the crew to receive communications through their suit They also provide air to help keep them
Very
cool
good,
and
very
comfortable,
good.
as well as delivering nitrox for suit
Oh
pressurization.
my,
Of course,
that's what it
the
looked
suit's
like?
primary
Wow,
function is
that's,
to protect the crew in the unlikely event of a cabin
so it's not, that doesn't look like it's beans. That looks like it's pre-brewed.
Yeah, that's right,
Ready
Courtney. So
ready to rocket and roll.
suits on all the way through ascent. Once they get out into orbit, as
Wow.
they cruise to the International Space Station, they'll be able to doff their suits or get out of their suits and get a little bit more comfortable on the ride.
Yeah,
to
I
the
bet
International Space Station.
I bet that'll really get the synapses firing, wouldn't it?
some more formal comm checks coming up. We'll be doing multiple comm checks through multiple
Yeah, no,
paths to Dragon.
no engine chill or pre-burner required.
And that's our tracking data and relay
Or rather, maybe a whole lot of engine chill required, depending on how you want to look at that one.
Station as well. They'll also do some ground checks. You'll hear the term ground, which refers to the ground stations around the globe, allowing us to get communications to Dragon, to the multiple.
So yeah, speaking of engine chill, if you look down in the description below, we have a link to Staticfiregal's channel. She's kind of gone and started doing her own thing, and we totally support her in doing that. It was great to have her while she was here, but it became time for her to do her own thing. She was not forced to do this by us. It was her decision to go out on her own, and we totally support that. So if you know who we're talking about, go check her out. If you don't know who we're talking about, you should really go check her out. She throws together quite a bit of content, and she does it all by herself. And we totally support her in that process and in that independence and being a creator on her own. It's great. Go check it out. We also have Warhawk's Coffee Club down there, which is a kind of a sister channel to what we're doing here. We're going to be helping somebody with that, but they're not quite ready to really fire it up. We used to do the coffee club over on Odyssey because it's a little bit off format for this YouTube channel, and YouTube likes us to be in little boxes. So we are bringing that over to YouTube, and we're handing that to somebody that we're going to help throw that together. We should have something coming down the pipeline pretty soon. In fact, I saw the Mrs. Warhawk throw some chat in one of our back channels earlier today. I didn't have a chance to read it.
Commander Rajachari, closest to us, Tom Marshburn.
Yeah,
to the right of him on your
scrolling through it now.
Thumbs up.
Not a lot from Mrs. Warhawk there, but she did stop in and say hello, and
and everything is still on
she's
track
waiting
right
on
now
a
for an
critical
on-time
piece of
launch
equipment,
today.
and then
So
we
let's
should
check
be
in
able
with John
to start
for the latest
throwing
with the
some
help of both
Coffee
of the
Club
vehicles.
episodes out.
John, what's the status
So that should be pretty interesting. It will be a little bit different from what we do here on Total Space. Like I said, it doesn't really fit inside the box that YouTube likes us to be in these certain sized boxes and whatnot. So go check out what's there, and that'll give you an idea of what's going to be coming down the line with them. And yeah, quite a fun little thing. Also, it might be time to talk about something that we haven't really announced yet. So we have a special announcement here. We aren't 100% sure when. I kind of was talking about it earlier, but I think we're just going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag now. We are going to be sending a photographer, a videographer, out in the field. I was talking about this a little bit earlier, but I didn't get very specific. and they're gonna be doing some on-scenes footage and pictures and things for us, and sending them back to us. We're gonna have them publish most of what they do for us on my channel, Astro Roadie channel. So we'll throw a link to that in the description later on. So if you're watching this after the fact, it might be there. But it's going to be a lot of like launch site footage and some factory tours and things. But also some other locations and things planned. We're waiting on coming up with money for some more equipment that we need, and also, you know, when we send them out to places, we need to kind of put them in a hotel room, because it's not really possible to have them be in a tent on the side of the road, especially if the weather's no good. So we do want to kind of try to get them into a hotel room or rent a cabin or something when they're in an area. So if you wanna help us get that to happen, hopefully January. Might not be quite ready till February. It's kind of a lot dependent on money. So if you're excited about this, that Patreon link would be a great way to push this little thing along. So quite exciting there. Like I said earlier, I've been spending a little bit of money getting some equipment for the videographer to take down to the places they're going to be going. So would love a little bit of help with that. I can only work so many hours a day and do this. So I can only come up with so many dollars to rub together. So we're probably going to be setting up like a GoFundMe or something for it, but not 100% sure if we want to do that, but we probably will. So that should be quite fun.
27 minutes and 35 seconds. All systems are go. We're going to head back over to Jesse and Courtney here just across from me in Hawthorne as we wait for the
We also,
with the Crew-3.
and all of that is on this side of the pond. We also have some plans over on the other side of the pond where we're going to be going and scouting some locations. We've been sussing through some gear and picking out some things in order to do some things over on the other side of the pond. So definitely keep an eye out there. Probably gonna be, we'll probably do some sort of video about the scouting trip. I would guess, I don't know, that might be a members, we might only share that with our Patreons, or we should have the join memberships on the channel open by that time as well. So that'll probably be a members only thing that we'll share. But yeah, we're going to be going and doing some other things on the other side of the pond. That's the great thing about having an international team. You can send people in different directions to do different things. But that's probably in March time that we're going to be going and doing some stuff like that. So should be rather fun.
After 3 days taking in amazing views of the Earth, conducting valuable science to further human space exploration, and chatting with many Earthlings below, on Saturday, September 18th, the 4 civilian astronauts safely splashed down just
I
off
totally
the coast
missed
of
that
Florida.
while I was
Inspiration
looking
for really
at
was a historic first,
chat
what's really
and back
exciting
channels
is
and
it
things,
certainly won't
and
be the last of its
talking about our
kind.
exciting
Low Earth orbit is an
exciting
incredible
plans of the
space for
future.
scientific research,
But yeah,
technology
that's
development, and
quite fun to
astronaut
see all
training.
the
Its value has been proven
all the
through
previous
thousands of
missions
experiments
that
and
the
decades of
previous
international
crewed
and commercial
missions that
cooperation.
SpaceX has managed
NASA's
to do.
efforts, particularly with
So
the commercial
exciting.
crew program and the
So
certification
exciting.
of SpaceX Dragon, are building the foundation for a robust U.S.-led commercial economy economy in low Earth orbit. Commercial
And she has all of her hair
transportation
pulled
to
back
space
this
is but
time.
one element
Welcome
of
back,
NASA's
Jessie,
larger plan for
one of the
commercialization.
SpaceX hosts.
We're enabling the
She
development
usually
of commercial
likes to have
space
a
private astronaut
piece
missions
of her
to the
hair coming
station,
down a little
demand
bit in
for
front of her
in-space
face.
manufacturing, and more. With
She's
US
got it kind of
industry
tucked
leading the
behind
way
her
in
ear
low
this
Earth
time.
orbit, our sites can focus even more on the moon and Mars. It's a fascinating time to be part of the space industry, and we have a lot of work to do to meet those goals, namely aboard the
I believe
International
maybe
Space
her
Station.
job is
And that
principal
work
engineer, so
continues with
she's
today's Crew-3
she's
mission.
more than just a pretty face. She's a
So again,
smart one there
the
too.
team inside of Dragon
So
right now, Crew-3, has been running
she's
through
kind
some
of
those
kind
final
of fun
procedures.
on the streams
Next
from
up is our
SpaceX.
comms check. We'll hear those come over on the live broadcast right here. You'll hear them as well. There will be several that the crew will run through. Right before we came back on, we saw the crew giving the closeout team some fist bumps and some high fives before they departed and went outside.
You can see them on your screen right now, strapped in, ready to go. In
Yeah,
their
yeah,
seats.
the laptops. You've got the SpaceX logo and the NASA meatball on the backs of the laptops there. I'm sure they'll bring it back up again in a few minutes for us to see. We're back inside the capsule with the camera, finishing up some
Copy, Dragon. Stand by for a
checks.
local comm check.
I'm gonna turn the audio up and we'll listen to all that for a minute.
Comm check.
C1 has you loud and clear.
C2 has you loud and clear.
C3 has you loud and clear.
And C4, alles gut, ich verstehe dich laut und deutlich.
Zupa. And core loud and clear as well. Umbilical comm checks complete. Stand by for ground station comm check.
Now, I thought that would be a little bit more interesting for them doing comm checks, but they're not super fast with it. So yeah, they're coming up on ground station comm checks that they're kind of getting going through. It's not a terribly lot going on there with that. Let's see. And we still have all of our super chatty audience in there. Yeah, I'm wondering where some of our
Clear. Ground station comm check complete. Stand by for TDRS comm check.
Oh, I didn't see that transformator. I don't know what that translates to, so I'm not going to read it out loud. Yeah, something about flying there. I'm not going to read it out loud, though. And I'm not going to try and figure out how to copy that over into a Google Translate in the middle of a stream. Maybe if I was prepared for it, I would do it. Yeah.
Core loud and clear. TDRS comm check complete. Stand by for comm checks with MD and LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
Ah, yeah, Kayla said, Max says Kayla looked a little bit nervous. But I think, you know, this is a lot I believe the three of the astronauts, it's their first time in a rocket.
ND loud and clear. Stand by for
So they're gonna be a little bit nervous.
LD on countdown.
I don't see any knees shaking and bouncing, but everybody's quite stiff-backed. Of course, they are in their seat belts. Not terribly fidgety.
And Endurance LD.
We got.
Stand by for comm check over Dragon ground.
Looks almost like one of them's taking a nap there. So he's not too stressed out. Like.
LD Endurance SD loud and clear. Dragon to ground.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Gotsky. We appreciate that.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. We do not have anyone giving us a presence on Facebook on the team at the moment. We did have Staticfiregal doing that for a minute, but well, for one, she's no longer doing the TSN thing, and none of the rest of the team have time to spend building any sort of following on Facebook. So we kind of in the background are looking for somebody to help us with Facebook promotion and whatnot. For the most part, the team, we are fairly active on Twitter, as I mentioned earlier. Our handles are down in the description below. I forgot to I normally put mine right here below me, and I forgot to set that up, and I am not going to play with it right now. I don't think. Maybe I will.
In the meantime, let's go over to Houston to check in on what's been done on board the International Space Station to prepare for Crew-3's arrival. Sandra.
Thanks, Jesse. As we said earlier, the team here in Mission Control Houston is actively controlling and monitoring the space station as they await Dragon's arrival. The Expedition 66 crew is in their sleep period for the day. However, just a short time ago, we did hear confirmation that NASA astronaut Mark Van de Hei worked with teams on the ground in order...
Endurance copies, we're ready.
NASA astronaut Mark Van de Hei did work with teams on the ground in order to get the broadcast streamed up to the space station, so he's going to watch his soon-to-be crewmates launch live as well. The crew on board have completed a number of other tasks as well to prepare the station for Crew-3's arrival. NASA astronaut Mark Van de Hei received some additional onboard training for monitoring Dragon during its final approach, which he'll do from the station's cupola. In addition, he will set up computers and control panels needed for approach monitoring and hatch operations and pre-position emergency equipment. Back here in Houston, our rotating flight directors and their teams will be in constant communication with the SpaceX mission director for the duration of the flight uphill.
Endurance copies.
Once we get to integrated operations, the NASA flight director will be conducting the series of go-no-go polls at the predetermined checkpoints for Dragon's approach. For now, we'll continue to follow along from here in Mission Control
They have
Houston,
rotated
so
some
I'll send it
seats.
back down to the team at Kennedy.
That's
Over to you,
right.
Daryl.
All right, thanks, Sandra. And as you look
They're
live
kicking
inside
back.
the capsule, you can see that
They've
the seats
got
have been
little
rotated
over 2 hours
so that they
till
can have
liftoff.
clear visibility
Can
of
you
the
imagine?
That's right.
There's a rotation position.
As soon as they put those suits on, they gotta wait until they are in orbit to take care of any laboratory business that they may need to take care of. And they are gonna go through liftoff, which is gonna shake the jeebies out of them. So hopefully they were smart enough not to consume too many fluids and things before liftoff. I mean, they do need to be healthy and hydrated, but I would imagine they take a little bit of a break so that they don't have to deal with those things once they're in the spacesuit. They have time to get out of the flight suit. Let me correct that. That's a flight suit, not a spacesuit. They cannot go for a spacewalk in those things. But if there is some sort of a depressurization event on the capsule, there is a hose feeding oxygen and atmosphere to them so that they can continue breathing. But it'll hold enough pressure to keep them alive while they solve problems and patch holes and things. As long as it's not something major, they can go for I believe it's a couple hours, maybe even a few hours. I'm not sure exactly, but they can go for quite a bit of time in those flight suits. Especially if it's just a pinhole leak or something where they're just not able to maintain pressure quite like they would like on the flight. So it's very different. The flight suits are very different from a spacesuit where they can actually go out in the harsh environment of space.
SpaceX commercial space vehicle to the International Space Station. We will be working on the International Space Station for around 6 months.
Yeah, I can't tell. Was she hugging the? Is she coming up here? You'll see it in just a second. Is she hugging the Falcon, or is she holding it up? What do you guys think? Is she holding it or hugging or holding up? Let's do some voting. Let's do some voting.
Partnered with SpaceX in the Commercial Crew program. They design, build,
there we
and
go.
operate these vehicles
on
that
screen now.
Transport us to the International Space Station so that we can contribute to the amazing work that we're doing up there.
Yeah, you know, it's exciting to fly on a new spaceship for sure, and a new design of a spaceship. But I'm looking forward more to flying with 3 people that haven't flown
I'm going to bring this
feed
volume back up, and I need, as much as I don't want to, I need to get some caffeine in me. So I'm going to be gone for a few minutes again, but I'm going to give you some volume and things, and let you enjoy the stream.
We can get done. So you really feel like you've become a resident of space, a resident of zero-G, and you start to feel like you're getting an idea of how this works. Every day is a long series of problem solving. You got to figure out where to put your pencil, where to put your drink if you have it. So maybe 10,000 times a day you're solving little problems like this, and when that becomes fluid, then you really feel like you can be efficient and get a lot of work done. And there's a lot of work to get done on the space station right now.
We spend a lot of our time training in Dragon because that's a really dynamic phase of the mission, but it's just such a tiny fraction. The whole point is going to the space station and doing some incredible work up there. So our time on the space station is spent, one, keeping the space station healthy. It's been up there for 20 years. There's a lot of systems that need maintenance and upgrades and operators there to keep them working well, but we also do some incredible science. The space station is a national laboratory orbiting around the Earth, and it's a really, really unique environment.
Once we arrive on the International Space Station, we will run a lot of experiments. I'm a material science engineer, and so my focus will be lots of experiments in the material science domain, but also life sciences will be very important.
There's all kinds of research going on a daily basis that lead to just fundamental changes in the way we understand how our world works. I will definitely be the eyes, ears, hands, and the actuator for the experiments that help lead to the science, the discoveries that can push our species further, both beyond the planet and just understand and operate on our Earth even better.
One of the great legacies of the space station is not just going to be the science, but very importantly, the international cooperation. This is one of the first, certainly today's perhaps most prominent, international cooperation for exploration. It's not for survival, it's not for competition in the marketplace, it is for just exploration.
I think we're now about to enter a new era of human spaceflight. In the past, we astronauts flew to the International Space Station to do purely science. Now the station will become more and more commercial. There are commercial experiments on one side, but there are also commercial astronauts who come up to run maybe their own science programs, but also to enjoy just being up in space, to experience space, and to convey this message, the fascination of space, to all the people on the ground.
And as we're back live inside the Dragon capsule, watching the crew prepare and get ready, Rajachari working out that suit a little bit and popping up his helmet for some air.
4 good leak checks.
Not that they can't breathe when it's closed, but certainly you can have a little bit of outside
Happy Dragon,
air.
we see the same.
With the helmet open.
Closeout
Right,
team will
exactly.
perform final closeout steps and then egress the capsule. Report when ready for hatch closure.
And there you heard the call out for the upcoming
Endurance is ready for hatch closure.
Hatch closure.
Yes, and we heard that call out that they had 4 good suit leak checks, and so that is a
And
very
copy that,
important
Dragon.
step that has to be done before they can close the hatch. Sounds like everything is on schedule.
And that's great news. And so let's take another look at some of the crew members here. If you're just joining us, live coverage of Crew-3 from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Let's introduce you, if you have not met him yet, to Commander Rajachari. He is an astronaut and military test pilot.
I'm Rajachari, the commander of the NASA SpaceX Crew-3 mission to the International Space Station. So on the SpaceX vehicle, my job as the commander is a fewfold. I don't need to tell Kayla, Tom, or Matthias how to do their jobs. They already know how to do their jobs. It's really more a matter for that 1% of the time where something off-nominal happened, what is the best split of resources, of what is the best interactions between those players to get the best result. And so managing those different pieces of the puzzle is really, I think, what the crew part of the commander job is. It's really mind-boggling when you think about how much effort it takes to put people in space and then to sustain them in space. I think what's cool and why I like NASA is none of those people are doing it for the money. They're doing it because they believe in the mission. They're doing it because they believe in solving humanity's problems and pushing exploration. That's the reason people are doing it. I think, if anything, it's taught us that we as humans have this great ability to endure through just about anything. You just have to put your mind to it.
Seated next to Rajachari is Crew Dragon pilot and NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn. He is a veteran of 2 space flights, STS-127 on the Space Shuttle Endeavour and Expedition 3435 on the Russian Soyuz.
My name is Tom Marshburn. I'm the pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew-3 mission to the International Space Station. Not quite sure why spaceflight grabbed me the way it did. It found me, really, more than me deciding to become fascinated with it. There's something about leaving everything we know behind, everything. It was almost like going up into heaven or something and coming back. And that was just infinitely fascinating to me. The long-duration mission is quite a bit different from the shuttle mission. You really feel like you've become a resident of space, a resident of zero-G. One of the great legacies of the space station is not just going to be science, but very importantly, the international cooperation. It's not for survival, it's not for competition in the marketplace, it is just exploration. And it's just a vibrant, wonderful place where great science is happening.
We were wondering about the helmet there with Rajachari and why he's just got it half open. And of course, our expert astronaut, Shannon Walker here, explained it to me.
Yeah, you want so you see that white band on the bottom of the helmet, so if it's in the wrong location, you won't have as good visibility to read the items that you need to read on the screen. So he's got it positioned to help him read the screen.
You can look further lower as well. It appears that he's got a checklist on his knee there.
Yes, on each leg of the crew there is a satchel that holds a tablet with procedures and other information. It looks like Roger's tablet. He probably has it placed on the display above him, but you will see before they launch, they will take that down and replace it on their satchel on the knee.
Holds better there, I imagine, with the forces of launch.
Exactly. You do not want that falling on you as you're launching into space.
Seat number 1 is behind this camera shot, and that is mission specialist and NASA astronaut Kayla Barron. She'll be making her first trip to space today. The submarine warfare officer has deployed 3 times aboard the USS Maine.
I'm Kayla Barron, a mission specialist for NASA's SpaceX Crew-3 mission to the International Space Station. When 9/11 happened, watching New York City respond and how we came together as a country really cemented for me a desire to serve. That's how I first got interested in joining the military and ultimately got interested in attending the Naval Academy. I found myself really drawn to the submarine warfare officers as mentors. And when I got to go underway on a submarine, I just felt like this is where I belong. If I hadn't had that experience, I don't think that I would have believed I could become an astronaut. Crew-3 is just such an amazing group of people. It's a really special crew because I think everybody brings a really unique perspective and different background. I just feel super lucky to be with people who all have such diverse experiences, but have really learned how to mesh and work together as a team.
And finally, in seat number 4 is Crew-3 mission specialist and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. Today will also mark his first spaceflight.
I'm ESA astronaut Matthias Maurer. I will be mission specialist on the NASA SpaceX Crew-3 mission to the International Space Station. In 2008, ESA started the call for new astronauts. Out of 8,500 applicants, only 10 candidates passed all the tests. I was one of them. I was always fascinated by space and what does an astronaut actually do. So an astronaut works with a lot of engineering stuff. We do science in space. We work in international teams, and the adventure that we are able to live as astronauts in a combination of these 4 facts: engineering on the edge of what is possible, science, international teams, and adventure that's only possible as an astronaut. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped me to arrive at that point that I'm today. I will be thinking of you when I fly to space, and I send all my love to you down on the ground.
Back live inside the Dragon capsule as the crew goes through their various communication checks and suit checks.
As they prepare to have the hatch closed.
Awaiting that hatch closure. And by the way, if you would like to ask us a question, and by us, I mean Shannon, just pop on over to Twitter and use the hashtag AskNASA. That will send us the question.
We'd love to have them.
Shannon has been answering them throughout the show and doing a great job with it. We really appreciate her being here. And you've had some good questions as well. Even the patch, which I know you're big into your crew patch. Shannon.
Of course, I like our crew patch. I think it's pretty good looking.
It's hard to deny. I love the blue. I love the dragon. But the Crew-3 patch is pretty cool as well. The logo was designed for this mission by the astronauts themselves, just as you did, Shannon. They say
looks like
that
we have
the capsule flies upward.
Link to the Crew Dragon Wikipedia there. This is going to tell us a little bit about the namesake Endurance. Primarily, this entire capsule was built through the pandemic. They started construction on it after the first lockdown.
Oh, it is a lovely
And
patch.
so the crew having to endure through all that, and then
yes, so each
there
crew can
was
either
a
design it themselves,
expedition
or they have a choice
on
to
a
work
ship
with an
in
artist.
Antarctica
And so the crews are trying to take
that
elements of what
it is also
what they
named
feel really
after,
represents
named
their
Endurance.
flight and put it into a patch.
Okay, that was a little redundant
And
sounding.
has anybody,
Coffee's almost
drawn
done
one
brewing,
themselves?
so
how about that?
I'll pop off for
Especially
just a
the
second to
RTO
go grab
Nicole
that
Scott,
in just a
former
minute
shuttle
here.
astronaut.
Yes.
Yes,
she's definitely an
very
artist. I
good
love her work.
question there,
As you
Max.
can see them preparing for the hatch closure. It looks like they are
Oh,
documenting
Thea
the seal
Vempri,
around
welcome.
Yes, they're looking very carefully to make
Yes,
sure
they
that
are-
that seal is
they are
completely
iPads,
intact,
I
because that's what's going to hold the
believe.
pressure inside the capsule.
You don't want any foreign object debris, what we know here at
Which
NASA
are
as FOD.
a little bit
right?
more
Which is
reliable
anything
up
that's not
until
supposed
they
to
are
be there.
not.
Anything that's not supposed to be there, and
Whereas
it can be, they're
androids
looking for really
are
tiny things. Something as
a
small
little
as
bit
a human
less
hair
reliable
will cause that seal to not operate
overall, but easier to repair and
they're
fix if
using,
something does go wrong.
It appears
Plus,
to be
I
smartphones to take these
believe
pictures.
They do. I mean, the cameras on the
Apple
phones are
products
so good these days
are
that
a
you
little
can
bit
take some pictures and blow them
more
up and really
hardened
get a good view of what
for
that hatch seal
space.
looks like.
They are good cameras indeed.
Like I know the old G4
of the Crew Dragon, I
Apple
should say,
chip.
was the crew from Inspiration 4.
I don't remember
and
who manufactured
our NASA
that one. It
social
wasn't
team
Apple.
Was, putting together our page
I
for,
don't think.
this
But
launch from the Kennedy Space Center.
It's a very hardened
as you can see, the
processor
that
that
there.
a lot of space hardware will still use
really
today.
They're going to push on it
Those
because the
older
hatch itself, if
processors
it's
like
not
the
locked, it
G3
wants
and the
to spring
G4
open, so you've got to overcome
because
that
they
force,
are able to
to
handle
get,
the
the
harsh
latch to
environment
latch on that hatch.
of space.
So we'll hold the thought on the NASA social video as we look. Looks like
Yeah,
crew
the
closeout
PowerPC
number 36
ones.
was putting a fair amount of force.
Yes, it did look like he was pushing hard, but that's good. We'll get that hatch
Were they a
closed.
Qualcomm chip?
And now begins the
I
process
know Apple
of
used
them
Qualcomm chips for a while. They also
sealing
used
it up.
IBM
Sealing
chips
it up
for a
and doing all
while.
kinds of checks and cross checks. So they'll seal it up. There'll be a
They've used
pressure
a lot
check
of
to make
different
sure the
chips, but
pressure
now,
does
of
in
course,
fact
they're
hold
using
inside the capsule. And you'll
their
see,
variation of the
teams
ARM
people here
chip, which
working
they call
together
the
to make sure
M1,
every step is done
which
exactly
I'm hearing
so.
some fantastic
Carefully and
things about. I'm
methodically
not a
working their
huge
way.
Apple fan, not because the
255
products
feet up in
have
the air, we might add, in
any
the-
sort of problems,
in the
but
white room.
their repair policies and some of their political stances
As they
are
work
not
on
in agreement
closing
with
up that
me,
hatch.
so I
Let's head out to
don't
California and
really.
catch up with John I
think
for an
I do have
on
an
the
iPad
operations. John?
Mini around somewhere, but it's one of the second generation
Countdown is
iPad
proceeding
Minis.
nominally at this
So
point, and
it's
thanks, Daryl,
what,
for that handoff. We're coming up just
6
inside
years old,
T-minus
7
2
years
hours.
old.
Now on board the brand
Still
new
works
Dragon
just fine, but
spacecraft
I
Endurance,
never
we've
really
heard a lot
have
of the
used it a
communication
ton.
between the
I
crew
just
and the
kind of
ground.
use it
Comm
to
checks were complete.
surf through
We saw
the
astronaut
internet
seats
when I'm laying in
rotated
bed
to flight
watching
position.
TV late at night.
Suit leak checks were successfully completed, and we've been watching the closeout leads lean into that hatch, getting it secure.
Ninja
And we're getting ready now to
paparazzi.
begin what will be the hatch leak checks to make sure that all the seals are good, everything's bolted down tight, and ready
Maybe I
to go.
oughta. I need the,
Once we
the coffee's
finish
done
the
brewing.
final
I'm gonna
leak
go
checks,
fill
the
up my
team will
cup,
begin
and I'm
the steps
also
to
going
close out the
to
white room and
grab
get the access arm ready to
grab the
retract.
camera that I
Then that
just
closeout
recently
team
got.
that you see there
Kinda
will
show
leave
that
the
off a
pad
little
by
bit.
about T-minus 1 hour, and that'll leave just the 4 astronauts on the pad. Now for Falcon 9, their team for countdown is on console. Here you can see firing room 4. They're preparing for communication checks with the astronauts coming up in just a few minutes. Currently on Falcon 9, the engineers have pressurized launch vehicle gas storage bottles. That was done before we cleared the pad. These are composite overwrapped pressure vessels. They hold gases that are used to fill the propellant tanks with hot helium as that propellant is pulled out of the first and second stages by the Merlin turbopumps. As we get into the last half hour of the countdown, we'll do a final top off of those pressure vessels, make sure that we're at flight load. We also use these pressurized gases to spin the Merlin engine turbopump when we have to start an engine in space. So the second stage MVAC engine has to start up after the first stage separates. And the first stage engines, we've got 3 of them need to restart to begin the entry.
Well, you
and
get
then
some
one engine for the
get some
final
good
landing
Rex
sequence.
Max. Good,
So all
good
of those
rest
engines need
Max.
helium
Holy
gas
cow!
to be
I
able to
do
spin
need the
and start
coffee.
the engines.
Can't even talk.
The gases are also used for attitude control systems. Not so much on the way up, but it helps orient the vehicle.
We are
after
super
the
glad you
first
were able to
stage
join us,
separates.
Max, and hope
comes
you
back
can
down for
get
the
some
landing
good
on the
rest and
drone
join us
ship.
again in
And we
the
also use the gas to deploy
near
grip fins
future,
and to
maybe
kick the
for
landing legs out just before we land on the
another
drone ship.
future stream.
We're continuing
should
to monitor
have-
weather at the launch site
Should
and around the world.
should be able to start
Contingency
bringing a
abort
few
and
more of
landing
these
zones. Concerns
live
we're looking
streams
at
to
continue
you.
to be the same since we started the
Ooh,
webcast.
Mr.
Cumulus
Producer
clouds and flight through
has
precipitation.
awoken
Now, a
from
moment ago,
his
the range did report
restfulness.
That currently, right now, we are no-go on weather for flying
But
through
yes,
precipitation.
thanks for
but they
joining,
also
Max. We
expect that to
appreciate
clear up and for us
your
to be
support,
going when we
coming
get
and
to launch.
joining
So
and
this is
chatting
just
with
a
us.
temporary. They have to tell us
Hopefully everything
when we're
is
not
well
meeting
in
all of
your
the weather rules,
neck of the
but
woods,
right now
and we
it doesn't
can
look like a concern.
continue to see you in
So
the
the good
future.
news is weather's looking good. Dragon's right on time. Falcon 9 is quiet, getting ready for its big events coming up here in another hour or so. And so with that, we're going to hand it back to the team at
We
Kennedy.
have gotten the
Thank you,
hatch
John
all
I,
closed
and
up.
Yes, indeed, we
Looks
can
like they're
confirm there was some weather that came through here.
still
Yes, there was.
finalizing
There's a
some
little
of
bit
the
rain,
closure
a
procedures.
light
They still
storm,
have
our
that
launch weather officer tells us, Ron
access
Suzik,
panel
informing us that it was a light one
open
passing
while
through,
they
but in fact, when
finish
it's
up
here,
some
it
pressure
does
checks and things.
cause that to go red.
Exactly. If it's raining here, we would probably not launch into it. Thankfully, there is no lightning, which is another criteria that we use to determine whether or not we are go for launch.
We're back inside the capsule now. We're awaiting a couple of things. They're going to do some comm checks. They're going to do some suit leak checks. And in fact, I think you were able to eye when that happens. The suit leak check, do they?
Oh, the suit leak checks. Yeah, you can tell when they are doing a leak checks. I believe they've already occurred, but one of the things that happens is you have your visors closed, all your zippers zipped up, and they will pressurize the suit, so you'll get extra air volume inside your suit, so the suits will kind of puff up. You can
Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K Pro. Which will do 6K resolution and
the look of the day.
record in Blackmagic RAW. I'm very excited about that. I've done a little bit of test footage, but haven't had a lot of time to edit it together.
What is that like?
Also have an external SSD that I've mounted on top. I don't know if you can quite see that there. And then I have a nice Sigma brand lens that is a 150 mm to 600 millimeter lens that I should be able to
enjoy the experience of actually being
myself or whoever is using it should be able to get some good long-range footage. I was chatting with Starship Gazer. Was it this morning?
Endurance copies.
No, it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday after I got home from work about his new camera and lens, and we were joking about
this is what's primarily
being able to see nose hairs at 2,000 feet, which is not really a huge exaggeration on what you can do with a 600 millimeter lens, especially if you throw a 1.4 or a 2.0 multiplier on there.
So
you can really get some distance range on those.
That's when the action will pick up with the crew access arm retracting. We'll have the arming of the launch escape system, as we just mentioned. And then prop loading will
Hotel
follow.
California.
We'll keep a live view of the crew here as they're sitting tight for the next hour or so.
They're closing the hatch. That's a good one,
Bradbury. Context about this mission. But for now, let's head over to Houston for a closer look at what the crew will be doing.
Have a good one, Max. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll catch you next time, buddy. You have a good night.
Thanks, Daryl. Once Crew Dragon arrives at the International Space Station, they'll be welcomed by their Expedition 66 crewmates. Since the Crew-2 astronauts splashed down Monday evening off the coast of Pensacola, Florida, we're doing something called an indirect handover, which just means a new crew of astronauts arrives at station after another crew departs. This mission will also continue keeping the long-duration crew size on station at 7. On the U.S. side, we'll have 4 astronauts to conduct research until NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei returns to Earth in March of next year. That jump from 3 to 4 astronauts takes our
Look at all those mission patches up in Mission Control there.
All the way up to
so
sometimes
many
80
patches.
to 100 hours, effectively doubling our amount of time dedicated to research. As the station is first and foremost a laboratory, the crew will jump right into conducting experiments with new research still to be delivered on upcoming cargo flights, including another SpaceX Dragon scheduled right now in December. I'll toss it over to Marie now, where we will learn more about some of the exciting science on the horizon for Crew-3. Marie?
All right, thank you so much, Sandra. I am here with Dr. Hector Gutierrez. You're a professor of mechanical and aerospace engineering at the Florida Institute of Technology down the road in Orlando. And you actually have an experiment launching aboard Crew-3 tonight.
That's right, Mary. Thanks again for the opportunity of being here. Very excited to be here to the launch of our flight units. Our experiment is called the Smartphone Video Guidance System. The name is a little bit misleading because we're actually not using any smartphones. But this is technology that was originally developed by NASA Marshall for guidance of a spacecraft and proximity maneuvers. And we're finally going to, after several years of working on the deployment of SVGS, we are going to have the opportunity to deploy it on the robot on the space station, which is called Astro Roadie. So the smartphone guidance system is essentially a software sensor. So it's an algorithm that can be deployed using the hardware resources of a robot, a CPU, camera, and in this case, that will be the resources of Astro Roadie.
Okay, and so there's the actual payload is a small beacon. It's about, you told me it's about the size of a flashlight. I think we have a couple of photos of it. But this beacon, there it is. It attaches to the wall of the International Space Station, and it has some LED lights that light up, and then that gets used in combination with the sensor to maneuver the Astro Bee that you mentioned. That's the free-flying robot on the International Space Station. There are actually 3 of them, and you're going to test 5 different maneuvers with 1, 2, and even all 3 of the Astro Bee robots at the same time. Is that right?
That's exactly right. So these beacons will be attached, some of them to the wall or some of them to the payload compartment on the Astro Bees, and they essentially will be used as navigation beacons to execute a number of formation flight maneuvers and to demonstrate capabilities of SBGS and its accuracy.
So how can you use this technology if these maneuvers are successful, if they do what you expect them to do, what you hope they will do? How can you apply this technology in space and to help improve our lives here on Earth?
How have you been, buddy?
So the expectation is we have many potential applications for SBGS in the space context. Right now we're working with Marshall on a landing mission in which one of the possible applications of SBGS in space is to serve as beacon for planetary landings. As you probably realize, every time that a probe or a robot is dropped in a planet, one of the biggest issues is how to know accurately where it lands.
Sure.
So planetary landing is a big challenge, and SBGS is one of the potential technologies that could be used for that. But besides that, SBGS can be used for formation flight of a small spacecraft. One of the trends in the future of space exploration also includes that instead of launching large spacecraft, it is much more cost-effective and robust to launch a cluster of items that then need to be oriented relative to each other at a relatively short distance. So SBGS is a strong candidate to fulfill that role. But so within space applications, the potential uses of SBGS are for proximity maneuvers, formation flight, landing. But besides that, we're very excited that SBGS can also be used on Earth for similar applications where you need
sounds like it's on the other side of the pond, or
between
I'm
each
just
other
not
to
aware of it on my side
dock
of the pond.
or land if it's a drone, for example. Picture in the not too far future, you can put your beacon at your doorstep, and a delivery drone will drop the package right where the beacon is. You know? And it can save significant effort to a delivery person who has to go up 3 flights of stairs or something like that. You know?
Just have the drone drop it off.
Picture it in New York. So there are a number of applications. We want to go into a commercial.
Moab. Yes. I have a good friend down in Moab. That's
Developing a commercial version of SBGS.
That's
that can be,
what, a 5-hour, 6-hour drive from here
Dr.
for me.
Hector Gutierrez, thank you so much.
So
Best of luck with the smartphone
I do plan on going and visiting my my friend with the new camera. Probably next early summer. Go get some footage of the desert out there. I want to do some wildlife photography, take pictures of some of the birds and things down there, as well as some geology footage. There's some really interesting geology out that way. And then of course there's the spiders and the lizards. I don't really want to take footage of snakes. I'm not a snake person, but the lizards and the birds and the rodents and things that live out in the desert are quite interesting. I haven't been down that way for
fire burns in new ways.
I believe 9 years, so it'll be about 10 years since I've been down that way by the time I get down there next year to visit my friend.
We're studying ways to grow
life
food
has
in
had me
microgravity.
in a different mindset than I was in the last time I was able to get down that way and visit him.
Space, and how to keep crew members safe and strong
Samples
on
of the
long-duration
ancestral Rockies.
exploration
So is that like geology samples? I'm
testing
a
technologies that
big
will be
geology
critical to our return to the moon
fan.
and
I
great leap
don't
to
know a
Mars.
ton about it, but I do
Our research has
really
contributed
enjoy
to
it.
medical and social
Not just
benefits on our
visually,
home
but the
planet,
whole
allowing us to find new ways
scope
to
of the
combat
geological
disease back on
process.
Earth
You know,
and develop
like how
technologies to deliver clean
rocks and
water to
minerals and
remote
crystals
communities
form is very, very,
The
very fun for me.
spectacular
I've got
vantage
quite
point
a
from more than 200
quite a
miles above our planet
mineral and crystal
supports our
collection
monitoring of Earth's climate,
in
natural
boxes at
disasters,
the moment.
and plant life.
Our planet Earth is
So
absolutely stunning.
yeah,
To me, it doesn't matter
I'm
where
a big
we
fan
are
of that,
in the
and I've
world,
got
I just see beauty in
my
different ways.
stepdad's sister's
growing new
husband
space economy
is
is so vital
is a
to our
professional
continued progress in
geologist. I don't
space,
think his
is
work
flourishing
actually
in low Earth orbit.
has him doing much geology, but
We're inspiring future
he got his
generations
degree in
from a
geology, and then
platform that is one of the
you know,
largest
as
international
you know, here in the
collaborations of our
United
time.
States, getting a degree helps you
We're
get a
doing
job,
science
but it
at
doesn't necessarily have to have
17,500
anything to
miles
do
per
with your
hour.
degree.
Come along for the ride.
Just get any old degree and you can get any old job you want. Granites and
Shannon, you
schists,
were
yes.
a part of that ride.
Yeah, a
doing
lot
that
of
science
granite
at
down that way.
17,500 miles an hour.
Yes, I was.
And it looks like they're going to have a busy time up there.
I think so. There's so much science to be done. The ground crews do a very good job of keeping the crew on
Oh
board.
no, you're
scheduled
right.
the entire day doing that science.
You're right. A lot of
Taking
it's
advantage of every moment. As we look live
sedimentary
inside the Dragon
stuff
capsule, we are T-minus 1
down
hour
there.
and 44 minutes until liftoff.
Granite
We are here
is
with
not
Shannon Walker,
a sedimentary
NASA
rock.
astronaut
It's
who flew on Crew 1.
oh, you're gonna throw the
watching
name at me here in
Crew-3
just a
prepare
second.
to
I
get
know.
ready for their flight, and it appears they haven't been very
Ignatius?
chatty.
No,
That's
they
not
haven't
right.
been very chatty. I guess it's a quiet crew.
It's a quiet crew, and that's just fine.
Like I
as
said, I'm
they
not formally
prepare for their
educated in
liftoff.
any sort of
Crew 3
geology.
is
I just
scheduled to arrive to
I'm
station
a fan
just
of it.
days after astronauts from Crew 2 returned home from a record-setting space flight. Take a look at this at 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time. The view looks a little similar. This is Crew 2, though, safely
Getting
splashing
some
down in the
splashdown
Gulf
footage here.
off the coast of
It's
Pensacola.
like we're having a
There's
little
view
bit of
from
a
the infrared camera
little
as
bit
the,
of a hiccup on
parachutes
the
opened up.
smoothness of the
The
feed.
crew of Shane Kimbrough, Megan MacArthur, JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide, and
Let's
ESA
try and
astronaut
edit that.
Thomas Pesquet. They landed safely, splashing down there in the Gulf
I need to go
as the
back.
parachutes came down around them. They spent 199 days in orbit, Shannon, surpassing the previous record of 168 days set by Crew 1 astronauts, of which you were a part.
I was. I would have loved to have stayed up 199 days, but 168 is not bad either.
And before they returned to Earth, NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, well, they were good tenants because they made sure that station was ready for Crew 3. I had a chance to speak with them in space before they came home. Hey, Shane and Megan, great to be with you today. This is fantastic. You guys are currently over the Pacific Ocean, cruising at 17,500 miles per hour towards our general direction, though it doesn't look like you're going that fast. And Megan, your hair is looking luxurious, by the
Trying
way.
to find a setting. I do not play
Thank you
around
very
in this
much.
program quite enough.
So tell me, you're getting ready for Crew 3 to arrive.
Yeah, so we've been getting their sleep stations ready to go, their crew quarters. So we've been cleaning those and getting them all ready, so they're going to be set. We also
Is
have
that
gotten their suitcases
a-
up here, and we got one. Here's Raja's, and we got
Mr.
Kayla's
Producer,
there.
if you
And so we got
jump
Tom's
in
and Matthias's
voice,
as
I
well.
can
So
hear
all
you
your
without
clothes are ready to go for the
piping you
next 6
through.
months. So that's going to be
You can
set.
walk me
All
through
your
what I'm
food's
looking
ready to
for
go
here.
as well.
And given the size of those suitcases, it doesn't look like the wardrobe is having a lot of variety. But you don't need a lot of that up in space. Tell me, for the first space flight, you know, for the folks that are coming up, 3 of the 4 astronauts, this is going to be their first space flights. For those 3 astronauts, we know they've trained extensively, but what is something as a first-timer they will experience that you just can't train for?
Well, Daryl, that's a great question. And really, it's the physical environment that we live in that is really hard, obviously, to train for when you live in 1G on Earth. And so it's how you move around, how you move efficiently, how you can, you know, go floating and flying through the space station without crashing into things, without knocking things off the walls. But these are all smart folks. They're going to figure it out really quick, and they're going to be doing great work up here before we know it.
Hey, Shane, one of the veteran astronauts, Thomas Marshburn, you know him pretty well. You got any stories about him? He's a veteran astronaut just like you, flew on shuttle, been up to the station before, and both of you the astronaut class of 2004. So you got any good stories about Tom?
Nah, none really. Tom's such a great guy. He was at NASA before we were selected as astronauts as a flight surgeon. So some folks may not know that. So he was kind of the go-to person in our class of, hey, what's it really like? What I don't understand this, how NASA runs. And since he'd been here a little while, he was definitely our go-to person for that. Tom and I are also both from Atlanta, so we have that in common. And we've enjoyed working together and training together over these many years.
Couple of Southern guys. That's great. Want to ask you, though, currently Crew-3, as they're getting ready to go up, I was watching you guys play a game. In fact, the entire world was watching you guys play a game with your thumbs. And I'm just curious, what was that game? And why were you playing it?
So that is actually a French game that our ESA crewmate Thomas Pesquet taught us. It's called the Game of Thumbs, so very original title. And we were basically playing it to pass the time. So we were, you have a lot of time when you're sitting in the vehicle. And we had, during that launch week, you have some practice runs as well. And so you have a lot of time sitting in the vehicle while the vehicle is getting fueled.
I am
and of
not
course,
seeing
we talked to each other
a
about what, to be prepared
properties
for any emergency
anywhere.
scenario that might happen. We talked through all of our nominal tasks and monitoring that we're going to do, and then we still have some extra time. And so Thomas had this game at the ready for us to play, and that kept us entertained for the time between the activities that we had to do.
Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur aboard the International Space Station, thank you so much. And by the way, fun fact, during this interview, you just traveled 3,000 miles. Incredible.
Thanks, Daryl. Really great talking to you, and get Crew-3 up here safely. We're looking forward to having them on board.
Will do. Take care. And there's the floating flip. You can't talk to astronauts without having a flip.
Always got to do it.
Shane and Megan, they were great, and it was great to find out about that game. They enjoyed games. This crew apparently is enjoying some solitude.
I think. Just said they are going through the nominal procedures. They're talking through the emergency procedures to make sure that they are prepared when launch actually happens.
Shane and Megan back on the ground. Shannon, you were out there when they came down, and
there we
you were
go.
one of the first people they saw.
I was. It's hard to believe it was just Monday night when they splashed down, but it was pretty special for me to be out
I see
on
you
the
threw
ship
it in.
that gathered up the capsule, and I got to see the crew, and
Thank
it was extra special because I was on station when they came on board, and then I got to be there when they splashed down.
How about that? That must have brought a smile to their faces even after,
A
coming
little
back from
over
space.
an hour and a half,
they all
and
told
we
me that it
have
was
an
great to
appearance
see
from
the
Mr.
Mikko face.
Innsbrucker.
Great story, Shannon. Thank you so much. And now let's check back in on launch operations in Hawthorne. John I, what has the team at SpaceX been working on?
Thanks, Daryl.
Welcome back,
Coming
Mr.
up
Director.
on just under 1 hour and 38 minutes before
It's
launch.
your favorite
Crew of
SpaceX
4
host,
are in the capsule.
Mr.
Hatches
Innsbrucker.
closed, and we have heard a successful completion of the hatch leak check. So pretty much everything is finished with
I'm
the
assuming
capsule.
that's your favorite. You seem to get the
ground
most
team will
excited
be
about his
securing the
voice,
white room, the
but
access arm, and they'll
maybe
be
one
off
of
the
the
pad in just about a
one
little
of the
more
others
than
is
30
your
minutes.
favorite.
Now, the launch engineers for
Let's
Falcon
hear
9
from the
are
audience.
fire
Who
room floor in the NASA
is
Launch
your
Control Center.
favorite
That's just outside
host?
the vehicle
We'll
assembly
we'll
building
just
at
leave it at
Kennedy
host.
Space
It can
Center.
be a
You can
SpaceX
see the view
host,
they're
or
going to have
maybe
through those
a
large windows
NASA
at
host, or
39A.
maybe even
It's
one
5
of the
kilometers
TSN
just
hosts.
east of them. We get liftoff,
But
it's going to light
who's
up
your
the sky,
favorite
and I think
launch
everybody's
host?
gonna be
We'll
looking
get a
out
little
those
bit
windows.
specific there. I don't
Now,
need
the
to hear
Falcon
about your
9 has loaded the helium and nitrogen gas into
local
the
news
storage
stations
bottles
host,
on
where
the
I have
launch
no
vehicle.
idea who you're talking
We've done
about.
some
Who
RF
is your
checkouts
favorite
a little bit earlier
launch
this evening,
stream host?
and we're doing a final review of vehicle tests that were performed earlier today. Now, the SpaceX chief engineer will be checking with the team at T-minus 80 minutes to
Myself,
verify that we are good to continue
I always
the
love it
countdown.
when either we
major
get
activity is flowing
Gwen
a small
Shotwell
amount of fuel
to
into
come
the
on
first
for a
stage
minute,
to prime the
or
Merlin 1B
Jesse.
engines for ignition. Now, the
I
team's
do
also
I do I
monitoring
do
fuel and
like
liquid oxygen loading
I do
preparations.
like
We're
the
ensuring that the
pretty
propellants that
face
are in the ground
of
storage
Jesse.
tanks are correctly chilled before we load those into the Falcon 9, beginning at T-minus 35 minutes.
I have
Now,
laughter
for the
going
range
in
and the
my
weather,
ears.
The range continues to go. We are continuing to release balloons, We have been getting balloon data back from the upper altitudes. Everything looks good. And
Oh,
more
nice.
importantly, the weather
Yeah.
has gone green again.
Yeah,
They said it
Gotsky,
would
you
be just a
might
short
be a
period
little
where we were
biased
ready
there,
for
but
precipitation.
definitely
That
an
has cleared up, and
acceptable
weather says
answer.
that we should be clear the rest of the way through the countdown. So with that, everything is a
Sorry,
go.
I missed
We'll turn it over to
missed
Courtney
that. I'll
here
go
in
back up
Hawthorne.
to that in a second, Odibaka.
Thanks, John. The Draco spacecraft you see on your screen is capable of carrying up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
7
we have
passengers to and
we have a
from Earth's
Starlink
orbit
launch
and
coming
beyond.
up
And what we have
from
sitting right here in front of us
from
is a Draco
Vandenberg,
engine, which
just
helps
around
get
the
Dragon
corner.
From one place to the next, and we're really excited
Jesse
to share some
Heartbreaker
details about this
Anderson.
engine. But first, let's
I
take
don't
a
know
look
that I
at
have
the
a crush
overall
on her or
vehicle.
anything, but
Courtney, just to get
she's
an idea
definitely
for
cuter than I
size,
am. I'd
this
rather
is
look at her than
our
look at myself in the
Dragon
mirror.
vehicle, and from the bottom to the top of the vehicle, it's about 8 meters or about 27 feet tall and about 4 meters in diameter or 13 feet in diameter. The bottom portion of it is called the trunk, and this is the unpressurized portion
Say
of
that
the
again,
vehicle,
Director.
whereas the top portion here is the Dragon capsule, and this is the pressurized section. This black portion on the trunk here is actually a bunch of solar panels, and that helps power the vehicle while it's on the pad and while it's in flight, as well as while it's attached to the International Space Station. And we also have 16 Draco thrusters on the vehicle that help maneuver it around, and 8 Super Draco thrusters to help.
That's a
in
very
case
fair
of
statement,
emergency
Rebecca.
For a launch escape system.
Very fair,
It is
very,
the
very
only
fair statement.
spacecraft currently flying that is capable of returning significant amounts of cargo to Earth from the International Space Station, and it's the first private spacecraft to take humans to the space station. In order to make this journey, Dragon is equipped with 16 Draco thrusters, which are used to maneuver the spacecraft during the mission. And
Yeah, let's
today
go
we
back up
actually have some flight-proven thrusters to show viewers. Each were flown on the first
Yes,
version
Faya,
of our
that
Dragon
is a
vehicle, and we have
long
one right
wait
here.
in those chairs.
this
They're
in front of
built
us.
for
This
the weightlessness and for, I mean, they're built to handle the stress of liftoff, so they're not just built for weightlessness. I mean, they're supposed to be fairly comfortable when you don't have a lot of weight to deal with, like in when you're in orbit. But they are built to handle the stress of liftoff, which is a little bit more than standard gravity. It's what 5G for a Falcon 9 liftoff.
Thrusters more than 450,000 times, and that's between missions and testing. An interesting fact about the Draco engines is that they can serve different functions based on their positions on the spacecraft. So you can see on the vehicle,
and then you know they start talking about
we need to maneuver the vehicle.
the launch escape system would be a lot more, but standard liftoff would just be in the 5 range.
Yeah, well, thank you for your
And
demonstration.
then
That was
launch
great.
escape
And
would bump it
I
up
just want
to
to be sure everyone knows,
near
not to be
8.
confused with the Super Draco thrusters. We're coming up on the launch escape system health checks. The launch escape system is the automated system in place that can fire the 8 Super Draco thrusters on Dragon to quickly separate the crew from the rocket, either on the pad or during the ride uphill. While we wait on those launch escape system health checks, let's check
Odie,
back in with
definitely
our team at Kennedy Space
samples
Center.
for the
Daryl.
shelf. I don't have it set up right now, but I have a really cool display I built for all of my rocks and minerals and crystals to display on, and definitely they are definitely something that gets prominently displayed.
They'll of course have the astronauts
My
inside
world.
the spacecraft. You're looking live down the crew access arm at the capsule on top of that Falcon 9 rocket there. Inside the spacecraft, Commander Raja Chari, pilot Tom Marshburn, and mission specialist Kayla Barron and Matthias Maurer. We've had some progress since we had John's update. Some of that progress we've seen so far. Shannon, why don't you outline some of that for us?
Well, so what we've done, you can see there that the closeout crew is still working on closing out the hatch. That does take a while, longer than one might expect. But again, I want to make sure that everything is done just so that hatch will hold its pressure. Before the hatch closure, we had the suit leak check, so we want those space suits to work properly should we need them in an emergency. And they've done some other systems checks to get ready for the all-important arming of the launch escape system.
Absolutely. We saw a shot there of the crew, or the closeout crew. They were tethered, as you can see there. Both
It's quite the interesting
left and
little
right. You can see those
portable
tethers.
staircase there.
They're literally
Looks like that.
255 feet up in the air.
They are.
I don't
they
think I've
are,
ever
and
seen one like
there's
that.
a
It
little,
looks like it folds up
space
rather.
there that we do not want them to fall
Com-
through, so
oh, excuse me,
that's why we keep it
compact.
covered.
And it looks like a
Interesting
step
little
ladder there,
set of steps
in case
there.
they need to
Easy,
get up a
easy
little
to
higher.
use in
Exactly.
in one of
Good
those
to have the
flight
right
suits
tools
if
on hand.
needed.
Here in just a few
But,
seconds,
still
around
able
an hour
to
and 30 minutes before
do what's
liftoff
needed to get
in
up
our launch
a little bit
timeline,
higher.
we should have that
Go ahead.
launch escape system and communication checks conducted by the Falcon launch team. These checkouts, as Shannon mentioned, they're standard part of the launch countdown. Of course, it's critical to
So,
make sure
welcome
everything
to
is
Total Space
working,
for anyone just joining
in
us.
order before our launch
We'd
escape
love
system.
to have you click some of those buttons down below. If you haven't subscribed to us,
We'll get
maybe
this all out
maybe
in
check
just
out
a
some
few
of our
seconds.
content, like the video we published today about
looks
the.
like,
It's
the
about a
closeup
minute and a
crew
half
is
long about the
finishing up.
Pritchell module. We also have
hopefully all is
a
good.
lot of
They're
other
checking out with
fairly
that
short
hatch there.
videos. We have
And as soon as they
some
probably back away and
medium length
leave,
videos like
we
our
will hear
our
the
deep
arming of
dive
the launch escape
episodes,
system.
and we have some longer episodes like becoming multiplanetary. Say
But I
for
tell you, if there's
instance
still work to
the
do, they
Humans in
will
Space
sit there
series that
and
we
keep
did
working
in
until
collaboration
that
with
hatch
To the
is
Future.
adequately
Um,
closed and
so we
we
have a
know
lot
that
of
there's no
content
full
out there.
pressure.
If you're not familiar
What
with
does
it,
it sound like as you're sitting there in the seat
after
and
the
they're
stream
working
is
on it
over,
now?
go ahead
Yeah, you
and
kinda
hop
hear some
over to the
thumping and
channel page
bumping,
and
going
take a look
on,
at some of
and,
the
you
some
do
of the
have
things
two
there.
windows in
We
front,
have
so you
a
can
lot of
kinda feel a
interviews.
little bit what's
We have
happening, but mostly you really don't
we have a
know
news
exactly
show on
what
the
they're
channel
doing.
called
You
the
just know
Space
that they are
Update.
working on it
We
and,
have Deep
getting
Dive
that
with
much closer to
Mikko,
launch.
where he takes an in-depth look at all
Looks like
sorts
we're
of
gonna
different
need to
things.
check something out a little bit
Recently,
taller,
he has done
higher
a
up
deep
on the
dive
capsule there.
on Rocket
the
Lab
stepladder came
and
in
a
handy.
deep
Yeah, it sure
dive
did.
on Starlink. And I think the newest one was where he and I did a deep dive on Lucy just before that launched. So some good stuff there. There's
sure what that
also
was.
I'm not sure what that
myself
was either, but
helping with
It looked
with
like
various
it was a duct to,
bits of some of the
flow
shows,
air
and
or
I
something
will
to
be
the
doing
spacecraft. Clearly it did not
some
need to be
various
there for the
content
launch, and so they spent the time
for the channel,
needed
but
to
it,
remove it.
I don't think I'm going to be doing any sort of a specific show. We were going to do
Continue to work with it.
have me do a specific show for a while, but we've kind of shifted pathways on that.
As you mentioned,
But I
they
do have
will
a
take the
few
time necessary
episodes here and there that I
make
will
sure
write
everything
and
is secure.
push out to you
Absolutely right,
guys.
and,
We have
everybody
quite a
knows what
backlog.
the,
We're a little bit over a year
timeline
old as a
milestones are,
channel,
so they have a
and we
very good
have
idea of when they
what
need to finish up this activity. They're not
130
gonna rush through it by any
episodes,
stretch of the imagination. They're gonna do it very
videos
methodically,
that
very
are
carefully, but
that
we
are
do have a timeline
available to
because, as was
watch. So
mentioned previously,
you
it is
know,
an instantaneous
a little
launch,
bit more than
window.
2
We
a
need to
week
launch
over the
exactly
last
on
year
time.
on average.
That
So
instantaneous
quite a bit of
window
content in our
needed
backlog
to
that you can go look at. We do a
rendezvous
lot
with
of
the
interviews. We
International
just
Space
recorded
Station on time.
an interview today. In fact, we had a
But in this
second
schedule,
interview with
they're aware,
Rogue
as you
Space.
said, of where they have
Very
flexibility.
interesting,
Right, so
fairly
nothing
new
is
debris
timeline
removal
so,
company that's going to be
so
building
tightly that we
Orbots
don't have
and
a
putting
little bit of
robots
padding
in
to take care
space.
of problems. Now, I don't know if they've
And a
got
bunch of
problem they're
information
addressing or if they're
about
just
them,
doing
both in
normal work,
our
because I
previous
was not a
interview
member of the closeout
and the
team,
one
so I
that'll
don't know
be
all of what they are doing,
being
but they do have a good sense of
published
when
and
that
put
work needs to
put
be
out to
finished.
you guys in the
You were
near
on the other
future.
side, inside the capsule for Crew 1.
Yeah, feel free to share this stream or any of our other content with your friends on whatever social media
Again,
platforms you
all of the
guys
area
use.
around that capsule. You can
We
see some
have
of the closeout crew, making their way
the Twitter
out
links of all the
light
hosts
room and
down
down to
towards the
exercise.
bottom
Well,
of
that's a very
the
good sign,
description
so
of the video.
looks like
So
they
if
are
you're
definitely
a
finishing
Twitter
up their
person,
work,
that's where
and
you can
soon,
follow us on Twitter.
hopefully we will have what the
We
launch
also
escape system is
dabble a
on.
little bit on Reddit,
Expecting
but
that in just a few
not
seconds.
enough to really like
Really
say,
enjoyed
"Hey,
that.
follow us on
He's
Reddit."
got the light in the cameras still
But
working now.
if
Yep,
you're
we're
active on Reddit, I'm
taking
sure
one
you'll
last look
see
to make
posts
sure that
from
there is nothing,
from us here and there
trapped in that
scattered
hatchway
about.
and
Some of
that
us are a
would
little more
inhibit
active
seals
than
from
others,
working properly.
but you can find us there a little bit. If you're real interested in knowing, drop a comment down below if you're watching this after the fact, or
Yes, it
or in
is.
the chat now, and maybe we can
It's
throw
very
a few
thorough. I appreciate
Reddit
that.
handles
Yes,
out
very
there. What else have we got going on? If you'd like to buy us some coffee or help support us in a financial capacity, we do have Patreon set up. There's a link down in the description, or you can just jaunt on over to patreon.com/totalspace and give us a little bit of a contribution to buy us some coffee. I believe in the description of the video we also have a PayPal link. If you're not inclined to do a subscription-based kind of thing like Patreon and just want to send us a few coins to rub together and help buy us some coffee, we do have paypal.me set up there. What else have we got going on? I'm hiding behind my nameplate there.
Landed back, was refurbished and
ready for use.
Ready for use, yeah.
Yes, we do have super chats enabled on the channel and on this particular stream, and we had Rebecca throw us a little bit of a contribution earlier. Oh, look, some more fireworks to celebrate that contribution. We love getting support, so maybe you want to support Rebecca and supporting us and throw a couple of coins in a super chat there. It's totally an option if you are inclined to do that sort of thing. We would love the support. And we get a smiley face from Rebecca in chat there. Wonderful, wonderful.
You can see from that view there, it looks like there's a lot
We
of
do
fog
have some side channel projects that are out there. Adele, who Staticfiregal, who is a former member of the team, has gone and started her own channel. We totally support her in doing that. She was a great contributor here and is doing some great things on her own. So there's a link to her channel in the description. We also have Warhawk's Coffee Club that's just kind of in a holding pattern at the moment, waiting on the primary host for that to get a new computer set up and running so that they can do some content creation over there. It'll be a little bit different than what we do here on the main YouTube channel. We did do some episodes over on Odyssey, on our Odyssey channel for Total Space. We have copied those over, and you can view them on YouTube if you would prefer. On the Warhawk's Coffee Club channel. Should have some stuff coming in the next, I don't know, maybe month. We should have something coming there. Give or take another month. We're just coming out of our summer season where everybody's outdoors and doesn't have as much time to be focused here on content creation. And so I need to turn this in my ear down. So we should start seeing a little bit more content coming out of us as we kick into winter mode and not as much camping and sports and barbecue weather going on. So should see things picking up a little bit on that end of things. We do still try to get quite a bit of content out every week. What else have we got going on here? Got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline that we're working on. We've always got at least 3 or 4 projects in the pipeline at a time. Some are at a writing phase. Some of them are all scripted out and ready to be recorded. Some of them are in an editing phase where I do a good chunk of our editing, not quite all of it, but a good sized chunk of it, and I get to sit and hunt down various bits of B-roll footage for us to use and get things put together for all of you wonderful viewers out there.
Welcome home to planet Earth, and welcome to the
and
Kennedy
and
Space
the
Center.
elusive
Just join
credits.
us
Yes,
for
yes.
The launch coverage of Crew-3 as we await liftoff just an hour and 21 minutes from now. Crew-2 that you just saw splash down in the Gulf off the coast of Pensacola on Monday.
Let's see.
After a very eventful,
What
yet
else have we got?
productive
Oh,
stay.
yes, we also
6
have
months
a
in space. And
website,
to me from the infrared video,
totalspace.net,
they had pretty
where
calm
if you'd
waters.
like to get a
And
hold
you
of
were out
us,
there,
maybe
you experienced a similar-
maybe you
Yes, you
have
definitely
a
want calm
suggestion
waters
for
when
someone
you
we
splash
should
down in the
interview,
water
or
because, you
an
really
idea for
don't
an
want that
episode that
capsule
maybe
rocking
we
too
should
much.
put
That's gonna make
together.
the crew feel badly if they,
You're welcome to.
have too much motion.
You don't want to be bouncing around in the seas, whether it's in a boat or a space capsule.
No.
Yeah, or maybe
Same
you
effect.
have a
Not good.
story you
Not
want to
good.
share with us
Well, NASA leaders are
that doesn't
watching
quite
this
fit in the
launch,
comments section
from,
down below.
Right here at the
You
Kennedy
can
Space Center. They're watching
bebop
the
on over
astronauts
to the
inside
website
Crew-Dragon
and
turrets,
send
with
us an
great
email.
anticipation.
So
NASA's Marie Lewis is
totally
with a special guest right
a lot
now
of
from
options that
ESA
we have
at
put together for
OSB2.
you.
Great.
If you want to
That's
get a
right,
hold of
Daryl.
us
I'm here
or
with, ESA
suggest
astronaut
something
and
to us
geophysicist
or
Alex
give us a
Gerst,
bit of
two-time
information,
flyer to space on the
so
Russian Soyuz.
many
Alex, thanks
things
for being here.
that we
Hey,
can
Marie, good to
do.
be here. And finally good to see the
I'm
stars come
noticing
Yeah, we had some sprinkles,
if you
but yeah, you
can,
pointed out
Mr.
we actually
Director,
see
go
stars. That's a good
to
sign here around the launch
in the
pad.
back end. If you go to the
we were
bottom of the
talking earlier. Tell
description
me
of
about
the stream,
the difference
we need
between
to
you've flown to space twice. This is
we need
Matthias's
to
first time,
adjust
and
the
it's totally
the third
different
tag that's
flying in a
listed there.
simulator versus the real thing actually sitting
Awesome,
on top
thank
of the
you.
rocket where Matthias is right now. So explain the difference and what Matthias must be feeling right
We
now.
we cloned a previous stream, and so we have a different tag popping up there. Maybe that explains why our numbers are where they're at, but that's okay.
being there, it shrieks, there's steam here, and it's powered up, it's humming.
Maybe
you know, when you sit
maybe
on
when
top,
you're done
it's
fixing this one,
sometimes
go
it's
ahead and check
like
the
swaying
the
in
launch
wind,
stream that we'll be
just
doing.
ever so slightly, but you notice it, so there is a
In a
difference,
little
you
bit
know
of
you're going somewhere.
in about an hour,
And then
we'll
once
be
you
shifting
arrive at the
over
International
to a
Space
launch
Station,
stream.
you're
I
gonna be
believe we're just
docking
going to be able to
tomorrow, and
push
you
this
train,
audience straight over there.
in
So if you're
microgravity,
viewing
but
this
there's only
stream,
so much training
you
can
won't
do
have
to
to
prepare
do
yourself
anything.
for what life
You'll
actually
just suddenly
like on
be
the
viewing a
International
different
Space
stream. We're
Station.
going to be
So can you talk
shifting
about what that's gonna be like?
to
It's absolutely right.
Mr.
There's
Producer
no
will
way
be
to
running
really
things, so we're
simulate
going to get
microgravity down here or
on-screen
fly
chat
half
back
fly
up
up
and
there to do all
running.
that science
We're going to
experiment.
have some
But it
other
also includes training,
other
like how
features
to
of
live
our
on the
overlay
space
up
station,
and
right? How you
working.
get your
I did
bearings,
not
you know, how to
I did not
translate,
anticipate this nor
what we
set
call,
aside
like,
time
floating from
to
one
set
end
it
of
up
the space station to
properly
the other.
like
You know, how
Mr.
to
Producer has
sleep
it
in
up and
space, how
running
to
with
do
all
all
of
things that
his
you need to figure out
fancy
in the first
Stream
day,
Deck
right?
buttons
And you can't
and
train them, so that's really a
more
challenge.
complicated
Just,
OBS setup.
I mean,
I have
people
more of
say
a
they drink from a
complicated
fire hose up
equipment
there
setup,
the first 3 days.
and
Yeah,
so
and you mentioned science. I want to talk
just
a
a
little
little
bit
bit
about the science
different.
that Matthias is going to be working on.
Yeah,
35
thank you so
different,
much everybody for
experiments,
joining us.
Specific to ESA. Can you touch on some of the experiments?
Let's
Matthias will be
let's
doing?
hear something
a
in
lot
the
of stuff that they
comments.
do up there that's,
What
actually a long
is
continuation of
your
experiments that have
favorite?
been done in the past. Actually, some that I already
We've asked
did,
we've
he's
asked a few
continuing, he's a
favorites
material
questions.
scientist, so he's really good at those things, looking at new materials down
So
here.
we've
I mean,
asked everybody what their favorite
do the experiments up there, but the use
preparation
of the experiments is down here for,
event is. We've
turbo
asked
engines that use less fuel or you know, lighter materials. That's important, but also like cell.
what's your
experiments,
favorite launch
on cell
facility?
aging,
Which
also
facility do
experiments that help
you
people
like
have,
to see rockets lift
muscular
off from?
diseases down here. Really
There
nice
are
experiments. They actually have a bioprinter for
quite,
skin
there is
cells
quite a
that are
long
really
list
thick that
of
they can go
launch
balloons with.
facilities scattered
That's
around the
fantastic.
globe.
Alex, thank you
We're
so
not
much.
gonna
We're
we're
out
not
of
gonna be
time, so I'm
picky
gonna send it
about
back over to Jesse and Hawthorne, but
specific
thank you so much for being
agency
here,
or
Alex.
country or
Jesse, over to
company
you.
here. Maybe you have a specific launch pad
Thanks,
that you
Marie.
like the way it looks.
T-minus
For me,
1
I
hour
really
and
love
17 minutes
some of the ISRO launch facilities, the integration towers coming in from both sides kind of look a little bit like Vishnu. So it's kind of, is it Vishnu? Ganesh. Maybe it's Ganesh. With the multi-arms. So just the psychological imagery of the integration tower for one of the ISRO launch facilities. I just love the way it
And
looks.
confirmation that the closeout team is now departing.
It's artistic
So
in a
after
way.
those suit leak
It's very
checks, the
functional but
closeout team was
artistic.
able to close and seal the hatch,
Ah,
which also
Odibaka
gets
says
its own
Rocket
leak check.
Lab Launch
As we just
Complex
heard, the
1.
closeout team has departed,
Yeah,
and those final
which
weather
they
checks
have
are coming
Launch
up, which will be
Complex
necessary
2,
before that
I
final
think is
go,
just
no-go
about
is given for launch.
ready to do a launch from. And then they also have over on Wallops, they have another launch pad. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very pretty to watch it fade away. Saxiford in the United Kingdom and Shetland Islands. It's very reminiscent of the Rocket Lab launch complex on the Mahia Peninsula. Very similar kind of feel to the way it looks. So it'll be interesting. I mean, they haven't really built a lot as far as infrastructure on the Shetland Islands, but it would appear as though it's going to look very similar to how things look on the Mahia Peninsula. 39A, which is a SpaceX launch pad.
Essentially, the station's nervous system are functioning
That's
normally.
this launch pad, isn't it?
also work with our
I
Russian
can't
counterparts to
get
ensure
that
both
specific
methods
about the launch
of controlling
pads.
the
There's too
station's
many of them. I
attitude
can't
are
keep
fully
them
functional.
straight,
This
especially when you
includes the
start
large
throwing
US
numbers and letters
gyroscopes
in there.
and thrusters found on
My
the Russian segment.
my
Both
dyslexia
systems
does
play
not
a
let
critical
me
role
remember
during
those
Dragon
kinds of details. If it's too
Mission Control
similar
Houston will
to something
closely
else
monitor
or
the
too
crew's
opposite
flight
of
and will
something
continue to
else,
check off milestones for most of the journey.
forget it.
So also back to Hawthorne. The
I've
International
gotten
Space Station
confused
team
before you
is
finish
ready
the
for launch.
sentence.
Courtney?
Thanks, Sandra. We're so happy to hear that the space station team is ready for launch. As we mentioned, the Crew-3 astronauts will spend about 6 months aboard the International Space Station.
39A would be Apollo
Departure
missions.
of the
Yeah.
Crew-2 astronauts from the space station. Crew-2 splashed
Of course,
down
all
off the
of
Florida
the
coast Monday
the
night,
launch pads
where they were picked up at sea by SpaceX
on the Space
Go
Coast
Navigator recovery vessel.
have some
Next,
heritage to them.
SpaceX will launch
Heritage.
commercial
That's the
resupply
word I
mission
was looking
24,
for
or
earlier
CRS-24
when
to space
we
station
came up
to
with
deliver cargo and
historical
supplies
and
to
legacy.
Crew-3 and
Heritage was
astronauts
the word
and
I was looking
cosmonauts
for.
aboard. It will automatically
I
dock
think
to
we
the
were talking
International
about
Docking
the
Adapter
flight
3 on the
suits.
space-facing port of the station's Harmony module.
Before Crew-3 returns
Oh,
home, they will hand the baton to the
almost
next
spewed
crew
my
to
coffee
arrive at
on
the
that
Orbital
one.
Lab on Crew
Yeah.
Dragon, the
So
Crew-4
Rich
crew.
and I
That mission is targeted
both
to
used to
launch
play
in April
EverQuest
of
2
next
back
year,
in the
and it will
day,
carry Crew
and
Dragon commander and NASA
I
astronaut
said the word
Shelley
heritage,
Lindgren,
and of course, first thing he
pilot
throws
Bob
back
Hines
at me
and
in
NASA,
in the
mission
back
specialist
end
Samantha
is
Christopheretti of the European Space
Dang
Agency, or
Heritage
ESA,
quests,
and a fourth crew
which
member
were
who has yet to
very
be
long
named.
quest lines
The
that
Crew
were
4 astronauts
a
will also
pain in the
complete
neck
a
to
6-month mission
accomplish.
as
If any of you
expedition
out there
crew
have
members
played
aboard the space station.
either EverQuest 1 or 2, or even I think World of Warcraft probably had something similar to Heritage Quest, but I did not get very involved with World of Warcraft, so I don't have direct knowledge of that.
That's right, and this will be Kjell Lindgren's second trip into space following a 141-day stay at the space station in 2015 for expeditions 44 and 45. Before being selected as an astronaut in 2009, he was a flight surgeon supporting space shuttle and space station missions. In December 2020, NASA named him as one of the Artemis team of astronauts.
Coffee is starting to kick in. I'm feeling a little bit more lively and energetic.
Bob Hines, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force, was selected as an astronaut in 2017 and will be making his first trip into space on Crew-4. Before becoming an astronaut, he supported multiple military deployments in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, served as a flight test pilot for the Federal Aviation Administration, and flew as a research pilot at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston.
And ESA astronaut Samantha Christopheretti will be making her second trip to space as a mission specialist on Crew-4. She was selected as an ESA astronaut in 2009 and flew to the International Space Station in 2014 aboard a Russian Soyuz for a long-duration mission as part of Expedition 42 and 43. Christopheretti is planned to take over as station commander for Expedition 68 and will be the first woman from ESA to do so. Now let's head over to Daryl at Kennedy Space Center. Daryl, how's it going over there?
All right, it's very good, Courtney. We are having clear skies at the moment.
I am going to start doing some preparations for Mr. Producer so that he is able to get things prepared for a handoff of the stream. So if I seem a little bit distracted, that's what's going on there.
Still holding for 9:03 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're tracking no issues with Falcon 9 or with Dragon. The range is green, and the weather
absolutely, if you have a question or a comment, something you would like to talk about and discuss or debate, you know how to use your keyboard in that chat window there. We are happy to talk about things and answer questions. So feel free to let us know what we can
and now we are seeing them
bring
live
to
while they
you.
wait liftoff. And Shannon, what is the crew doing right now in these moments as they wait?
I am not Bob
They are
Ross.
waiting, but they know that they're getting closer and closer to launch. The time really starts.
Put
to
a
feel
happy
like
little
it's
tree
speeding up,
over
especially
here
when we
and
anticipate this
a
on
happy
launch.
little
We're
rocket
looking
over
really
there with
quickly
a
about
nice
their
little
tasks ahead. They're thinking
engine
about,
and
running through the nominal procedures as well as running through any emergency procedures that in case they need them.
If you remember back in April, and we've talked a lot about this, we launched NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough, Megan MacArthur, JAXA astronaut, and Aki Hoshide, and ESA astronaut Thomas Pesquet to the space station, and those four returned from their 6-month mission. Shane Kimbrough saying after he splashed down, it's great to be back on planet Earth.
It's always nice to come home.
It is. And so, not that I would know, I've just you've told me a few times it is great to come back home.
It's just, it's a long journey, so it is nice to go home to somewhere familiar.
Over the next hour, we will conduct a series of polls. The pad crew has departed, and we watch them leave the area as we zoom out. We get ready for launch through these series of polls. The crew will also arm the launch escape system, and fueling of the Falcon 9 will then begin. Launch, of course, set for 9:03 p.m. Eastern, and this will include a 12-minute flight to orbit, and then a roughly 22-hour flight to dock with the International Space Station at 7:10 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, November 11th, which is Veterans Day. And it's not lost on us that we have 2 active military members on this flight.
Yeah, they may look like they're kind of bored sitting there, but they're probably going, I can't bounce my knees. I don't want to look nervous on camera. They're probably like all clenched up, getting ready to push out a diamond or something. If you catch my reference there. Ferris Bueller's Ferris Bueller's Day Off reference for those of you old enough to know what Ferris Bueller's Day Off is.
And it's still true today.
It's still true today, but we also have non-military people such as myself.
Yeah, it does feel like a lifetime, Goski. We started the stream almost 3. Let's see, it's 6 my time now, just about 6 my time now, and we started at about 3, so almost 3 hours we went live, and we have a little bit of time left to go. I mean, we're still an hour, little over an hour to lift off, and then after we get into orbit, we're gonna take a little bit of a break, so I can wander around and stretch and refresh up a little bit, and then I might come back and do Rocket Lab. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling, but 5, 6 hours, 7 hours of streaming in one day is quite a bit, and I do need to get a little bit of rest. I keep creeping forward here. I think my floor is unlevel. If I get back far enough, my face isn't hidden behind my name there on the screen. What else we got?
Almost 6 months in space.
That's right. We did spend almost 6 months.
Floating launchers ending up in court. Odibaka, are you talking about the oil rig platform
during its time on orbit? So we're constantly
launchers?
looking at its systems and making sure that everything is working properly so we can keep crew up there as long as we need them.
And a lot of what you experienced then, flowed back into improvements that were made for this brand new spacecraft.
Absolutely. Each time a crew comes
I don't know
up,
about all of
we
you
give
guys out
them,
there, but
comments
after
and what
this
we call
whole
lessons learned,
human
and maybe some
landing
suggestions on how
systems
to make things a little bit
court
better.
debacle,
And so SpaceX is
I'm
good
about
and
done
good
hearing
and try
about
and,
the
those
space industry in the courtroom. I'd
I'd
like a little bit of a break from that. Would you guys like to have a little bit of a break from that? Odibaka says A. So you think they will have an uphill fight to be able to use the platform launchers? Is that what you're saying, Odibaka?
Dragon and Falcon 9 systems as we proceed and march ever so slowly towards launch. And then at
I imagine there's some minimal environmental concerns.
At SpaceX headquarters.
In my personal opinion, much less of an environmental concern as a launch platform than as an oil rig. Especially where the propellants involved are methane and liquid oxygen, which, other than the super cold temperature, are not going to cause a lot of environmental damage if something were to happen. The methane's not a great thing to get into the atmosphere, but a lot of it is pulled out of the atmosphere rather than through a pipeline, or at least that is the eventual plan with SpaceX, is to condense it out of the atmosphere and use other processes rather than pulling it straight out of the ground. Of course, it does take quite a bit of time to develop all that. So I imagine there's some coming out of the ground, but a lot of it can be produced out of the air.
That'll happen approximately between T-minus 44 and T-minus 42 minutes. With the arm out of the way, the crew will arm the launch escape system. Once these two events are complete, Dragon is ready.
I'm pretty sure the fish in the sea aren't going to be too bothered by noise.
We're also verifying that we meet all the constraints.
But I could be mistaken there.
Everything both at ground level and at upper altitude looks good and ready to support an on-time launch in just over 64 minutes. So with everything looking good right now, the range is also
Quite sure how to interpret that. Elon stepping on some toes from a self-regulating point of view. So you think he'll over-regulate himself, or not regulate himself enough?
As a reminder, once we
Not
begin loading
quite
propellant, there's no
sure.
opportunity to change the T0.
Not so much of an environmental concern, but just a regulating. Maybe getting a little too carried away. Too many launches from out to sea or something. Maybe elaborate on.
It's always great to hear that we have everything go for our T0.
Recycling orbit tank isolation valves to equalize low flow pressure at this time. Additionally, you are go for section 6. When ready, report go for launch.
Endurance copies of recycling pressurization valves, and we are go for section 6.
Awesome. Just hearing some
That's an interesting point Mr. Director's given me there. He kind of thinks that maybe we need to set up a separate entity for managing the space industry and launches. The FAA kind of has its hands full dealing with flight, just general flight. And if we had some sort of like a space agency authority that was a little bit more specific to dealing with launches and the logistics of space, and didn't quite have their hands so full with commercial airlines and your next door neighbor who has a pilot's license goes down to the local airport. There's a lot that's different about the space industry, and maybe it would make sense to create a separate entity to deal with all the space stuff and lighten the load on the FAA a little bit. That might actually be a better expenditure of taxpayer dollars. That's not a bad line of thinking. What do you guys think about that? Should we have a separate entity, and should it be a U.S. entity, or should it maybe be a little bit more international? We've got the FAA and the FCC kind of have their fingers in a lot of things internationally already for like deployment licenses for satellites. If you want to be using a satellite in the United States, if it's going to be sending signal up and down from the United States, you have to have an FCC license for it, even if you're launching it from China. So, there are Chinese. That's a little bit speculation. I don't have any confirmed information on it, but I would think that even a Chinese satellite that wanted to communicate with anything directly here in the United States would need an FCC license. That's kind of the way the communication laws in the U.S. are written. So, a lot of other satellites that go up, whether out of requirement or out of courtesy, do get FCC licensing. So, kind of a barrel of monkeys to open up there, but love to hear what some of the viewers have to say about it.
Be a mission specialist for Crew-3, working with the commander and pilot to monitor the spacecraft during the dynamic launch and re-entry phases of flight. He will also become a long-duration crew member aboard the space station. Maurer comes from Sankt Wendel in the German state of Saarland. Before becoming an astronaut, Maurer held a number of engineering and research roles, both in a university setting and at ESA. In 2016, Maurer spent 16 days on an undersea mission as part of NASA's Extreme Environment Mission Operations.
Yeah, that's another interesting point is with the spaceports. How would you decide who has authority, the FAA or this theoretical SAA? Especially when you start looking at companies like Virgin Orbit and Virgin Galactic that have, they actually are using an airplane that would fall under the FAA guidelines, but then it switches to a rocket at some point during the flight, and the SAA would have to take over. So, would launch authority go all the way to the ground, or would it be there be a certain altitude threshold, or a velocity threshold, or just like a destination if you have a certain destination, or maybe if you're using certain fuel types, and it would be. Or maybe they would just have to have a chat about every option out there and say, "Oh, this is in your purview and this is in my purview," kind of thing. Maybe they would have to do something like that and just kind of back and forth on it.
Roughly 20-minute ride to pad 39A.
And though it was just after sunset and already dark outside, we did still get some awesome views
Odibaka
of
says bad.
the Causeway before the crew arrived at the pad.
Do you think maybe it's just overcomplicating it by adding another agency? I mean, it would be a few more jobs. The current administration seems to, here in the U.S. at least, seems to be anxious to try to create as many jobs as possible.
Were all functioning properly.
Then about 30 minutes ago, the team closed Dragon's hatch with the crew safely inside. So again, we're just under 1 hour to go until Dragon starts breathing fire. Things will pick up as we get close to the go, no-go pole to arm the launch escape system and begin propellant loading.
Now, the crew poll for readiness was completed at T-minus 60 minutes, and the Dragon poll for prop load is coming up here in about a minute.
And yeah, it would
55 minutes. Now, next
it would probably depend on who's getting those jobs. You know, if it's someone coming from a previous regulatory job, then it's not going to change a lot of things. But maybe it's someone coming from a mission control job and upgrading to kind of has a little bit of knowledge from the other side of the coin on launch providers and launch readiness and things like that. So you know, there could be some advantage, or maybe we get some new blood that isn't entrenched in the historical way of doing things.
The teams have often described the suits as
so many options.
The Dragon spacecraft, almost a mini spacecraft inside of a spacecraft. We're standing by now for that call for propellant loading.
Again, that should be coming up here.
That's an interesting thought. Perhaps the Space Force would end up being the entity. I mean, although putting the military branch in charge of something like that would probably not fly so well with a lot of various entities, politicians, persons, and companies and things. The military, various militaries around the world. This is not country specific, but militaries often get a little bit out of hand and need to be regulated on their own. So there's definitely room for quite a discussion there, I'm sure.
With everything still proceeding well, let's send it back to the team in Florida. Daryl, how's it going there?
It's going great out here, ladies, and we're here with NASA astronaut Shannon Walker. If you want to get a question in,
we're a little bit less than an hour to liftoff. I don't know about you guys, but my coffee's kicking in. I'm getting a little bit jittery.
Social on our Facebook page. People who have joined are posting messages, pictures, and videos with.
Looks like we're getting a special message coming up here. I'm going to turn up the feed volume for a minute.
For Crew-3 that were posted by the last 4 crew members to fly on Dragon. That is the crew of Inspiration 4.
Around the corner any second to you.
I want to wish the astronauts of Crew-3 all the best on their journey to the space station. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Falcon 9 and Dragon, as you guys know, is an incredible vehicle.
Hi everyone at Virtual NASA Social. I'm Dr. Sam Proctor. I am the mission pilot from Inspiration 4, and I just want to wish Crew-3 an awesome liftoff as they head to the International Space Station.
Hi Raja, Tom, Matthias, Kayla. Hank's here just to wish you well on your mission into space. I couldn't be more excited for you for the journey you're about to go through. Getting into that Falcon rocket with your suits on to have your name on it is a feeling like no other.
Crew-3, I just want to say I'm so excited for all of you. I know that rush of emotion that you're going to feel with your spacesuit on, strapped into the capsule, and you're about to have the best ride of your life. Just laugh the whole way up there like we did.
Just want to wish you all the best and look forward to exchanging some stories a little bit down the road. Take care. Godspeed, Crew-3.
I love Haley Arsenault saying that she laughed the whole way up.
I can definitely relate to that.
Can you really?
Yes.
Well, what was so funny?
It's an exciting ride. You're just happy.
You're
you
just
gotta
so
laugh.
thrilled.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And whenever she says anything, it always brings a smile to my face. She has such great energy. Well, throughout the program, we've been answering your Ask NASA questions from social media. We have time now for a few more before Falcon 9 fueling begins, and so we'll pop it up on the screen. And Shannon, you've been answering them all show long. We appreciate that. So the question we have up now is, what are your tips for me to go to space? I'm a high school freshman from Poland, dreaming of going to space.
Yes, so the first thing, the most important thing is to do well in school. We need people who are very accomplished and have lots of different skills, and it all starts with a good education. Now, being from Poland, you're going to have to apply to the European Space Agency to be part of their astronaut program, and hopefully they will have another selection one of these days. But really, do well in school and then go pursue a field of work that really interests you. What you want to do is do something you're very passionate about, and that really, when you're passionate about something, you're going to do well at it, and it's going to stand out, and people are going to take notice. And yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific, STEM is good, right?
Right.
But there have been people who have not gone into STEM and become astronauts.
Every astronaut that we have taken on the NASA side has got a STEM background.
Oh, they do, and
yes.
so that is a requirement.
That is a requirement right now. Now, of course, we're starting to fly more people, and there are more opportunities to get to space, so it may not be a requirement in the future, but right now, at least on the NASA side, you need a STEM background.
A STEM background and study hard and get some good grades.
Yes.
Our next question, does it get very hot wearing the spacesuits, or is the material breathable?
Yes, no, the material is absolutely not breathable because you need those spacesuits to hold pressure should something go wrong in the capsule. So you need it to completely contain that atmosphere around you. So they can get a little hot, but the entire time you're in the suit, they're flowing air through it to keep you cool.
You've got an air conditioning system for the suit.
Yes.
Blowing that air around.
Yes, exactly. You need the air to be blown around because you really don't want to end up with a carbon dioxide bubble right in front of your face.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon, for answering those questions. And keep the questions coming. We appreciate them at #AskNASA. Now we'll send it over to Marie, who is standing by with the Deputy Director of the Kennedy Space Center. Marie?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Marie.
And I wanted to ask you about a special connection that you have to Kayla and Raja, part of the Turtle class of astronauts in 2017. You were actually on their selection board. Tell me about that.
Oh, I sure was. In the class of 2017, we had the most applicants ever in the history of NASA, 18,353. And when it was all said and done, we picked 12. Of course, Raja and Kayla were part of that class. So to see them when they first walked in for their very first NASA interview, and to know now they're on board the Dragon on top of the Falcon 9 rocket, it's just amazing. I'm very excited.
And so much has happened in such a short period of time. You became the deputy director just earlier this year in the middle of a very busy launch campaign. We've seen private citizens launch from here at Kennedy this year. More of that is coming. We've got a regular cadence of these commercial crew missions to station. And we're coming up on the 60th anniversary of Kennedy. So, so much has happened, like we said, in such a short period of time. What do you see ahead for the next 60 years of Kennedy Space Center?
Well, I see it's just getting started now. So this started with a vision. 10 years ago, we flew out the space shuttle, and we had a vision to create the world's premier multi-user spaceport for both commercial and government users. And now you're seeing it coming to fruition. So it's just going to be, we have 24 launches now, more launches than any place else in the world. When we finish this year, we should have close to 50 launches, and it's just going to increase more and more.
I want to also ask you about what is in the building right behind us. Of course, the Goliath vehicle assembly building, the Artemis rocket, the SLS Space Launch System rocket is fully stacked. We want to show you a peek inside. Our gigantic moon rocket, there it is. That is the Space Launch System, and the Orion capsule being stacked on top. This is video from late October inside the vehicle assembly building. And now that the rocket and capsule are fully stacked, it stands at 322 feet tall, and that is taller, in fact, than the Statue of Liberty. Quite a sight in there, Kelvin. I don't know if you've had a chance to actually go inside since that stack in October, but it's just astounding. And what do you have to say about that if you've seen it inside, and what do we have to get through before that first launch of Artemis 1?
Okay, I saw it today, and
glimpses of the
SLS
sitting there in the lab.
It is just humongous to see that rocket and to know that that rocket will carry our astronauts to the moon and beyond, hopefully to Mars. So right now we're undergoing something we call IVT, Interface Verification Test. We'll do that for a couple more days, and then we're getting prepared to roll it out for a wet dress rehearsal. So hopefully that'll happen at the end of this year, early next year. We'll roll it out to the pad, fully fuel it, test all the interfaces, pad, vehicle, and roll it back for a launch, hopefully in February.
Fantastic. Calvin Manning, thank you so much. And by the way, happy Veterans Day a little early. I know you served, so thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you, Marie.
All right, we're going to go over to John Innsbrucker now in Hawthorne as the action begins to pick up on the pad. John?
Gotta have a little bit of fun. All right, what have we had happen?
Just inside T-minus 47 minutes, we're listening right now to the countdown net, waiting for the SpaceX launch director to discuss the propellant load and launch poll results and give final instructions to the launch team. At this time, we have completed all checks on the Falcon 9 and the Dragon spacecraft. We're also checking with the Dragon mission director to make sure that they are ready to go. And right now we're waiting to listen for that launch director to come up. Now we have been checking, as I said, with the Dragon mission director, also NASA launch manager to make sure they're ready.
Vampry,
you can see on the screen right now,
some
Falcon
of those
9 on the pad,
kind of
crew
set them
access
up
arm
to be
alongside the Dragon capsule.
quote-unquote
Earlier you saw
enemies.
the vehicle assembly building during that previous interview.
I certainly am not
The
a
Falcon
fan
and
of
Dragon launch team,
of
as
some
well
of those
as key
people.
members of NASA, are in the Launch Control Center, which is just
not
adjacent
speaking
to the vehicle assembly
necessarily
building.
about,
As you saw earlier, if you were with us, they've got a
agencies
view
or
straight towards
companies,
pad
but,
39A through the large windows of
people.
firing room 4.
Definitely, I'm not
Now,
a fan
going
of some
back
of the
to
people
the
on
current
that
screen
list.
view, you can see the crew access arm.
Although I
That
was
arm,
talking
once we
earlier
finish
about
the readiness
my
poll and
feelings about
instructions to the
Apple.
crew, or instructions
for
to the launch
instance,
team.
on countdown net.
And here it
It's
comes.
not so much the people there, but the policies of Apple, especially when it comes to like right to repair and planned obsolescence.
Is complete.
I'm not such a fan of
non-urgent
Apple's policies there, and I do not support
they will approve
them
aborting
in
the countdown.
their policies
For
there.
urgent
They do
issues
make some great
affecting
products.
the safety of the
I grew up
operation,
in
operators
an
shall
Apple
call
household,
hold
and
on the countdown net. Launch control will
I
abort
am
the
a
launch
fan of
auto
their
sequence
products,
immediately
but
and
not their
proceed
policies,
to the launch
so I do
abort
not
auto sequence. At T-minus 10
personally
seconds,
buy
launch control will
their
be hands-off, relying solely on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the
products.
count. Operators
Although
advise
that
launch director whether
M1
structural breakup or fire is imminent or occurring per Dragon
processor
manual
is
escape
really
flight rules.
quite fancy.
Those
man.
in firing
Came back
four
and
here
sat
can't
down, and I didn't make all my adjustments. There we go. Now you'll be able to hear me a little bit better over the stream.
Evacuate to south facing emergency exit leads directly outside. Launch control at this time. You may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
Just over
Nice,
44
nice.
minutes.
Very
We're
good.
going to send it back to Daryl and the team at Kennedy Space Center as we get ready to move the crew access.
Oh, here we
That's
go.
right, John. We are waiting that big moment
Here we
here at the Kennedy
go.
Space Center in Florida. As we do,
This is,
we are.
can't wait for you
T-minus
guys that are
43
watching
minutes and
this stream
counting.
to
Just got
see
set.
what's happening here. Any second now.
There is the retraction.
Boom, here we
Great shot
go.
of the Dragon moving. It's not moving.
No,
the crew
no,
access arm is.
you are
Moving away
you
from
are
it, yep,
clear.
and you can see that from inside the Dragon as well.
And there it goes. When you're in the capsule, can you see that?
You can. You have windows that are at pretty much your foot level, and you can see a little bit out. So you do see that moving away, and once it's gone, you know it's just you and the rocket.
There's the camera pointed directly at Dragon. Great view there. You can see the strong back at the top.
Oh, that is a fantastic view.
And this crew access arm can move faster than it's doing right now under certain circumstances, right?
Absolutely. If it needs to go back to being up against the capsule, it can move quite quickly, actually.
It was just not too long ago, about an hour ago, that we saw the astronauts walking down that very crew access arm. Now it is rotating away from the rocket.
Just one more step closer to launch. An important milestone.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying just watching the various parts of the launch pad go by
Yes.
as we look out that.
Yeah, you don't often
moving on.
get that view, so
No.
it is, might as well soak it in while we've got it.
There's nobody inside that arm. There's nobody on the pad. The only people who are there are the 4 astronauts inside that SpaceX Dragon capsule. You can see the water deluge system to the left, out the opening there to the white room.
Crew access arm retraction complete.
And we just heard the call out that the
All
crew
right,
access
trying to
arm
solve
has
some
completed
things on the
its
back end and
retraction
make
away
some
from the
some
rocket.
decisions.
And
We're
so
going to be
up next,
handing off the production
Dragon SpaceX, you
side
are
of
go for
things
section 4.100. Close visors
at
and
some
arm the
point
launch
here
escape
in the
system.
near future. So.
And Dirge copies were go
And that's
for
what's
section
up
7
next.
4.100.
Right, I
Launch
understand that.
escape
I'm
system.
just
And while
communicating
we
to
await
the
that,
audience
let's take
what
the
is
social
going
question
on.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
So, yeah.
Michelle Stone asks,
I
as
can't
an astronaut,
type
what
everything in
moment
response
does it
back
become
to
real
back
that
to
you
the
are
back
about to
end
launch
people.
into
So
space?
I apologize
You
to
know,
the
Michelle,
audience.
it is
Sometimes
right about
you're going to
now, so
hear
you know
one side of a
everything else has
conversation,
happened
as it's
according
easier
to
for me
plan,
to
and this is really
talk
the
to the people in the back
final
end rather
bit before
than
you launch into
click
space.
away on
So
my noisy
anything had
keyboard.
gone wrong
So
previously, the
I
access arm is there,
apologize
and you
for
can just
that.
exit the capsule. Now,
Not a
it's
lot
just
we can
you
do
and the
about it. I
rocket
tried to
will
buy
launch.
I had to replace a keyboard recently, and I
Arming
tried
the
to
launch
buy a
escape
quiet
system,
one,
as
but
we
they
just heard
did
that
not
call,
have
is
a
a major,
very
major
quiet
milestone.
option in stock,
Because,
and
you
it
know,
had to
if
happen
for
that
some
day.
reason
So
something were to happen, that's how you're getting off
I apologize.
that
You
rocket.
can
That is correct.
you
If
can listen
something
to me
happens,
type
it's
away
just
on a
on the
clacky
ground
keyboard,
or
or
by
I
the systems on
hear
the,
half of a
Dragon
conversation.
or that
Let me
Falcon
know
9,
what you would prefer in
it
the
will engage
in
that
the
launch
chat
escape
there.
system, and that crew
Love
will go
to
shooting off
love
that
to have
rocket.
some feedback. I love to have audience interaction. So if you have
Let's
some
take another question
questions
now.
or comments that
Shannon,
you
you've
want
been doing
to
so
talk
well
about
with
and
this
go
question.
over,
I love answering questions.
we are always happy to
Here's another
oblige
one.
that.
Are there pre-launch rituals
Go
and
ahead
activities
and
that the
throw
crew
some
go
stuff at
through
me.
before launch?
Would
You know,
like
we
to
do
once again
have
thank
some,
everybody for joining
I would
us
say
today.
traditions,
It's
and
been
kind of interesting now
quite a
that
bit
we're
of
in the
fun
commercial
sitting
Escape system is verified armed.
watching all the
Okay,
launch
escape system
preparation
is armed.
activities, the suiting up and
So we have
the ride out to the launch pad
traditions
and
that come from
going
the
up the
holidays,
elevators
we've got
and down the
traditions that,
gangway
we
and
actually experienced
finally
over in
boarding
Russia when
the
we were flying
Dragon
on stations, and
capsule,
then we sort of
signing the
combined a few.
signing
A
the
lot of them, as you
meatball
see earlier,
logo,
involved,
all
the crew
those
sticking their
things.
stickers on various places.
Yes. Everywhere you can.
Everywhere we can.
Yeah, that's
We
true,
want people to know we were here.
People are welcome to
one
donate
more
and
question
help
for you,
fund
Shannon.
a new
As we
keyboard.
await the loading of
And then this
propellant
one, this
into the
noisy one can
Falcon
be
9
turned
rocket.
into an
Hey,
emergency
NASA,
spare.
while watching the
I
launch
do
of
try to
Crew-3, I
buy
noticed the astronauts
keyboards that
a
have
little mirror on their suits on their
backlighting
left
and
arm. What are they for?
Yes. Good
and
eye
are
to notice
quiet.
that.
I like
Good
the
Good eye. Yes, that mirror is
yeah,
actually
the more
will
quiet
let you,
keyboards anyway.
inspect your spacesuit
So
to make sure everything
it would
is
be
fine. So once you're in the
pick out
spacecraft
the
by
right
yourself,
one and
you don't
order
need
it.
to advise that you need to shut it. You want to make sure. In my
Yeah,
case,
I'd
that
be
your
I'd be
hair is
happy
not
to buy a new
blocking the
keyboard
boundary
if
and would
if
interrupt
the audience
feel
wants to
that
fund
is
me
necessary to keep
doing
that pressure on the
so.
inside. So they use that to make sure
Otherwise,
their
my
spacesuit
my money is
in
going
perfect
towards
condition.
How about that?
video
I
gear
hadn't even
these
noticed
days
that.
in order
It
to
is
prepare for what
wonderful
we
to
were
get these
talking about a
questions,
little bit earlier in the
from
stream.
viewers and the
Getting
people
out
watching
on
because they're
locations
looking so
to
closely.
They are looking
film
closely, and
footage
it's great
and
that, people are
bring you
picking up those
guys
details.
out there in the
Well, let's take
audience
another one then, since,
even
we've got,
more
some great questions coming
information and content than we
Can
already
you keep
bring
your
you.
spacesuit after the
So-
mission?
Oh man, I wish
But
I could
always,
keep my
always
spacesuit. I don't
happy
know
for
where I would put
support.
it, but
And
no, unfortunately, we are not allowed
any
to keep our
support
spacesuits.
given on the
You couldn't
stream
stuff it and put
gets
it in the freezer?
I suppose I could. That would
gets
be
a little bit of the
bit
firework
But
action
you know what's
going
interesting
on.
is if you don't keep it, it is
So So if you want to see
exactly
fireworks,
to your specification, so
you know what you can do
yeah, actually, after
to
a
have
flight,
me
the
show you some
spacesuits go
fireworks.
into rotation for training. And so at this moment, Samantha Cristoforetti, who is about my size, is using my spacesuit for her training while her spacesuit is being built.
Okay, so they really are used
Yes.
again, but not for space flight. They go into a life of training.
That's correct.
Great questions, folks. We really appreciate these. These are some good ones. And Shannon.
We have both the director and the producer
We're getting a call out as we
using
prepare
the
for propellant loading.
using the main account to chat with the audience there.
Crew-3.
And they have their visors closed, so they are ready. They have them closed before
I
the
suspect
launch system is
Mr.
activated
Director
in
will
case-
be
or, yeah, activated in case it
signing
needs to be
over
put into
to
action. They would be safe
chat
and
with
understood.
us from
Another safety measure.
from
As
a
we are
different
here at the County
account
Space
here
Center
in just a
taking
minute. We'll see
another
some
question from
commentary
social
from
media.
him.
What was it like to feel the weightlessness of space for the first time?
Oh, that is
yeah.
such an interesting feeling when that happens. Of course, I felt it for the first time on the Soyuz spacecraft. When we got into space and the engines cut off, to me it felt like we were sort
So,
of tipping
Mr. Producer,
forward. I felt like I was
when you
floating
need
forward
me
in my,
to
in my
switch
harness
what
as
is
it's going
coming
down.
to you
That's just
I don't
in
think we were,
OBS,
but
just
that's
give
what it
me
felt
a
like.
little bit of a heads up
Not
to
too long after you get up into space,
to click those buttons
don't you
so
get
that
ready to
it
sleep in anticipation for
is
getting to
feeding
the
you
space
the
station?
correct
It really depends on your profile.
portions
so what,
of
the
the
Crew Dragon will do is what we did
of
on
the
our
view
flight
and
also
whatnot.
had a 22-hour-ish rendezvous. They will go through systems checks, make sure everything is working on the Dragon, and then they will
10-4,
have a sleep
10-4.
period before they do the final rendezvous.
And I want to ask a follow-up on this question.
Okay.
What's it like to
Correctamundo,
sleep in
sir.
space? Like, what happens? Is does your head, what's your head doing? And
Or is
are
it
you
like this?
comfortable with
A little
not
bit of a
being
Benny
against
Hill
anything?
salute.
It is interesting to sleep in space. It is actually pretty comfortable to sleep in space, but it does take a little bit getting used to. I will tell you, the first time I was up there, for about the first month, I would wake up in the middle of the night and feel like I needed to turn over. But of course, that's not going to do you any
Yes,
good in
like
space.
Mr.
So
Producer
that's just part of
is
adjusting to learning how to
letting
sleep
the
in
chat
space.
know.
There's certainly no pressure points, are there?
Those
There are
who
no
are
pressure
viewing
points.
here now,
Just tucked into your
everything
sleeping
will
bag.
should shift over
Are you
automatically.
restrained?
You have
But
a
if
sleeping
not,
bag on the space station. You have a sleeping
pretty
bag
easy
that's
to
inside your crew
find
quarters,
the
and
new
that,
stream.
Sleeping bag is attached to the wall.
So
float inside
hopefully
your sleeping bag,
everything
which is
we're
attached to a wall.
this is the first time we've done
Great
this here
job,
at
Shannon.
Total
Thank you
Space.
for all
So we're kind of
the,
trying it out a
answers to
little
the
bit,
questions there. And thank you
and
folks
testing it.
for
So
sending them
hopefully
in.
it
They were
works
wonderful.
the way we
Shannon
understand
did a
it.
great job of answering. Just a few seconds away.
If not, we
No problem.
apologize. So fingers crossed. I'm pretty confident in Mr. Producer's understanding of how it works.
Yes.
So we should have it all set up to be seamless for
Yes,
the audience.
obviously another major milestone, and that is something that is very obvious to the
we
crew.
will,
They can
of
feel
course,
it,
as soon as we switch over, we will
loading
go
into the
back
tanks.
through
It
and do a
starts,
few
low down at the bottom of the
audio
rocket, that is
checks
the-
for
is the,
volume and audio quality.
propellant
So
gets,
when we
the
have
tanks
that
get more
switch
full,
over,
it gets more
there will
vibration
be a
and
little bit
louder as it gets
things
closer to
going
the
on.
tank.
So hopefully you can bear with us when that happens.
Definitely hear it.
But we're still
You know something big's getting
still a
ready to happen.
little bit of ways from that.
Well, we are T-minus
We
34
are
minutes and
at
counting away from the launch.
little
of
over
Crew Dragon's
30 minutes
third
to lift
flight
off.
with astronauts.
So
and the second for 2021. Today
you
begins
should
the
start
next
seeing a lot
six-month
of
rotation mission to the International Space Station. The launch escape system is armed, as we just heard, which happens just before we have started loading
yes,
propellant
that's a
onto
good
Falcon
reminder.
9. Propellant is
So
now flowing
when we
into
do switch
Dragon.
over
The
to
Dragon
Mr.
capsule was
Producer
loaded with its propellant
running
about a week
the
and a half ago, just a
the
few
next
miles down
stream,
road at what we call Dragon
your
Land.
chat
And in order to
comments will
fly, Dragon
actually
needs a
be able to
fuel
come up
and an
on
oxidizer.
stream,
So for the fuel, we
just
use
like they did
monomethyl
for
hydrogen, or MMH,
like
and
Inspiration
nitrogen
4
tetroxide,
and
or NTO, for
some
the
of our
oxidizer. Together,
launch streams,
these
Lucy
propellants
Stream, we
feed
did
the
it for
Draco
that.
engines
It
must
was not
maneuver
something that
Dragon
I
on
have
orbit,
set
as well
up
as the
yet
8
on
super
my
Draco
end in
engines
my
that would power
studio.
the launch escape
So
system
my
in an abort
apologize,
scenario. And again,
learn how to
fueling
talk, Mr.
is
Astro
flowing.
Roadie. My apologies to
And that
all of
means
you
that
for
8 super
not
Draco
having
engines
that
inside
feature
Crew
enabled at the
Dragon
moment.
are ready, if needed,
But we will
to
have
launch the
that
capsule
coming
away
up
from
when
the
we
Falcon 9
switch
rocket in
over
an instant. Should there be
to
any kind of emergency associated with
having
the rocket or
Mr.
the
Producer
drive.
conduct things.
And the
So,
NASA and SpaceX teams
should
have
be
trained extensively for exactly that type of contingency.
also super chats and fireworks
So we'll send it over
will
for now to
also be
SpaceX headquarters in
available
Hawthorne for an
and on
operations
screen
update
when
with
we
John
switch
Up.
over. So you can look forward to
Counting
all
down
of
those
that.
final minutes. Everything's still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon for an on-time launch. launch just over 32 minutes from now. Falcon 9 did begin propellant load on time at T-minus 35 minutes. You can see Falcon 9 on the pad, the first and second stages. They're being loaded with 2 liquid propellants. One is a fuel loaded into a tank at the bottom of the stage. The other is an oxidizer that loads into the tank at the top of each stage. The fuel that we're using to power the Merlin engines is a refined kerosene referred to as RP1. And the oxidizer loaded on each stage
I've had some. I did plumb in some fireworks, so
is the term that we use to
so
describe
we have done a little bit of showing off of the fireworks. Not to the full extent that is set up in the Mr. Producer studio, but.
Now to ignite the fuel and oxidizer in the Merlin
All
rocket
right.
engine, we use that favorite ignition fluid called T-tub. Now when T-tub comes into contact with oxygen, it'll burn, and that gives off a green-colored flame.
All right.
Once
We're going
we've
to be
got the flame
doing
going,
the
we add the kerosene
handoff
fuel
in
into
about
the Merlin
18
engine
minutes,
chambers. The engine
so
ramps up to full power.
that will give us just enough time to make sure everything is up and running perfect for liftoff. We'll be going through, like I said a few minutes ago, we'll be going through some audio checks, making sure that we are able to not only hear myself and sound good, but also be able to hear the roar of the engines at liftoff, one of my many favorite things about launches, as well as all of the other things we've been talking about for the last few minutes that will be going on once we shift over to overseas production.
We heard them talking about the noises of propellant loading.
Stage 1 cryo.
Broadcasting from the towers.
The simulator also includes playback of sounds that have been recorded in the Dragon capsule during recent flights.
Once again, thank you so much for everybody who has sat and watched this stream. We've been going for a little over 3 hours now, and many of you have been here the whole time. I can tell you that it's a lot easier for me, it's a lot more comfortable for me to be here in front of the camera knowing that audience members are there and active and participating and sticking around. So those of you who have stuck around the whole time, really appreciate that. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are happy to have you. We are always happy to get questions and comments in the chat. We do like to chat about various things. There are those buttons down below that YouTube really appreciates knowing how you feel about what we do. And when you hit those buttons down there, it lets YouTube know that they should be sharing what we do with more people out there who have not come across this yet. So that like button, the share button, the subscribe button, those things really make a big difference, and they're totally free to use. They don't cost you a thing. There are some buttons there that you can use that do have a cost to them, but that is totally up to you if that's your kind of thing to push those kind of buttons. But we are definitely grateful for it when you do press those. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of a different telemetry review coming up on this one. They're not going to do the circle at the bottom of the screen, it would appear. Yeah, new graphics. They do look nice. I like how the rocket changes angle
which is our
through there.
second event. This is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to the Earth for landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event. SES-1, or second stage engine start number 1, is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with our Crew-3 astronauts.
Oh, Odibaka throws us a $5. Woohoo! We're gonna play some fireworks there for a minute for you. Thank you so much, Odibaka. We really appreciate that. We will put that towards some of our various things we have in the works. Really appreciate that. That makes a big difference to so many things. You know, it may not seem like a lot of money, but $5 is actually quite a bit of money. You know, a lot of our episodes that we put out, you know, we're a small channel, so and we haven't been monetized for very long, so every little bit is a huge help. And you know, like I've been talking about throughout this last several hours of streaming, you know, we have equipment and things that we are looking at purchasing. We have software licenses that need to be renewed from time to time, and subscription fees. You know, there are some other creators out there that we need to show support to in order to use their footage or other resources. So, you know, there are some expenses that come with this, doing this YouTube creator kind of thing. So every little bit helps, and means that we can bring you even more content. So thank you so much. You know, Odie Baca, you have been a great supporter for us for quite some time now. You've been a pretty regular attendee on our streams. So very grateful for all that. Say again, Mr. Producer.
Thanks, Courtney. The space station team here in Houston is focused, and the critical systems on the station continue to function normally. The teams have verified the command path from the ground up through our constellation of communication satellites to the space station.
That's very true. Maybe we should throw out some
once the crew arrives at station, they'll join
direct
Expedition
invites.
66. While on board, their official designation will be flight engineers for most of their expedition. At the back end of their journey, Tom Marshburn will assume
I think that's a
command of
great
the
idea.
station
We should
from
totally
current
do that.
space station
So we're going to
commander
throw
Anton
a
Skafarov.
link up in the chat
Flight Director
here.
Rebecca Wingfield is on console now,
We just
leading
decided
flight
just
controllers in
now
Houston for
we are
launch,
going
and will
to
also lead teams for docking tomorrow.
give out
A
some
reminder
free
that a launch
invites
today will
to
take
our
22
Discord.
hours to get to station,
Normally,
with the docking to the node
you would
2
need to be
forward
some
port
sort of
scheduled
supporter
tomorrow,
of the
November
channel.
11th at 6 p.m. Central Time. Once
For
Dragon
instance,
is
via
fully docked to the
Patreon
station, the
or
team here in Houston will
other
assist the
other
Dragon
means.
and Space Station
So we're going to
astronauts
throw out an
with
invite
jets
to our
as they
Discord,
work to open hatches on
and
both Dragon and inside
let
the
some of you
station's
viewers.
pressurized mating adapter.
It's going to be good for 10 uses. So the first 10 people to click on that invite link will be able to come and join our Discord for free. And chat with us. You know, we do. You can participate in our interviews and ask questions when we have guests. You can join us for, you know, just sometimes we're just sitting in there chatting, goofing off. Some of us sit and play video games in there. A lot of behind the scenes things happen in the Discord, and you are able to participate in all that. So if Discord is your kind of thing, which I really enjoy Discord, go ahead and click those, click that button there, and you'll be able to chat with us on the back end, not just when we are live and whatnot.
Mission Specialist Kayla Barron. There you see
So
them.
we
They
are
strapped in along with
about
Matthias Maurer, ready to fly inside Crew Dragon Endurance. We can see them live as well as outside. The Falcon 9 rocket fuel operation is well underway.
Odie Baca,
The launch
we're
escape
really
system
hoping that
is
you're going to
armed.
click on that
That means
Discord
Crew Dragon
invite.
is
We'd like
prepared
to,
launch
Mr.
itself
Producer
away
would
from
like
the
to
Falcon 9
give you a
rocket
thank
in
you
the
as
case
well.
of an
So,
emergency on the pad or after
you know,
liftoff.
if
So
Discord's
far,
not your thing and you need
operations
some
look and
help
sound
walking
as
through that
expected as we are
process,
just counting
just
down
let us
to that
know. We're
liftoff
happy
at
to
9:03
happy to
p.m.
give you some
Eastern
assistance on that if you're not familiar with Discord.
You can see
so
the,
yeah,
the steam as it comes off the condensation.
we
as it
are
comes off the rocket.
we are what 9 minutes
I've
out
noted in
from
past launches
handoff.
that as it fills with fuel, the entire
Wonderful.
first stage.
So yeah, once again, we are going to be switching studios and things in about 9 minutes. For the audience here, it should be fairly seamless. You probably won't even notice that it has happened, other than maybe the chat window will refresh and not have the history that we currently have. So
moist air off the
that
Atlantic
should be,
Ocean,
but it
and
should
so,
be fairly
with
seamless.
this lit up,
If
we
you
should see
do
a
happen
lot
to
of
not get
instrumentation coming off this
dragged
particular
over to the
rocket.
new
The mission is
stream
the
and everything,
continuation
right
rotational
before we
crew
do the
flight
handoff,
to the
we'll throw up a
International
fresh
Space
link
Station
to
from
the
US
new
soil on
stream,
private
just in
rockets and
case,
spacecraft.
and
not
you
be
will be able to
possible
join
without
us
the
over
success
there.
of NASA
So
SpaceX Demo 2 test
all
flight
should be
last
good.
year, and the safe
Oh,
delivery
it's
of Crew
pinned.
1
Okay,
astronauts,
good.
including my
The link
co-host
to
Shannon Walker,
the new
to
stream
the
is
space
already
station
pinned.
last fall for a
See, that's why
long-duration
we
mission.
have
Crew
a
1 is
producer
back
and a
home, of
director
course,
helping in
and
the
we have
back
one of
end
the mission specialists
to
with
make
us
sure
right
that
here
everything
today.
happens seamlessly
As you're counting
and
down
smoothly.
probably
And
20,
I
21
didn't even have to
minutes
I didn't
out
even
from
have to
launch,
push
Shannon.
any buttons.
What
You know,
is
how
going through
wonderful
your
is
head in
that?
this moment?
You know,
Boy,
I
this
get to
is,
sit here
this
and
is
talk to
really,
all of you and
you know,
everything.
Things get even more intense and more exciting. You can feel the rocket being fueled. You know you don't have too much longer, so you're really thinking about what you're going to need to do as soon as those engines light.
I don't know.
21 minutes and counting. The excitement levels rising for the crew inside. Crew Dragon Commander Raja Chari.
What's the
will
name
be
of that
making his first trip
cartoon
to space.
character?
And as commander, he is responsible for
Oh
all
yes,
phases of
Dexter's
flight,
Laboratory. So
launch to re-entry.
in
Chari is a colonel
in
the
the
US
Discord
Air Force
channel that
with
I'm watching
degrees
right
in
now,
astronautical
Mr.
engineering
Producer just
and
threw
aeronautics. Chari is
Dexter's
also a combat
Laboratory
veteran, having flown
meme at
F-15E
me, pushing
aircraft
some
during
buttons.
Operation Rocky
Very
Freedom
funny, very
and
funny.
deployments in the Korean
Tony
Peninsula.
Stark
As a test
keyboard.
pilot, he has accumulated
That
more
would
than
be like this, right?
2,500 hours of flight time in
Or would it
various
just be
military aircraft.
looking at
His
things
pilot
and
is Tom
speaking?
Marshburn, sitting right to his right. You see Chari there on the left. Marshburn is suiting up for his third space flight. As pilot, he is responsible for spacecraft systems and performance.
Fun fact,
He previously flew on the
Mr.
Space
Producer
Shuttle
is
Endeavour,
building up a
STS-127,
nice
and
little
on the
Jarvis
Lunar
interface. So there's your
in Expedition
Tony Stark tie-in.
3435, while helping to assemble
Damprey.
the International Space Station on STS-127. In that flight, Marshburn performed 3 spacewalks totaling almost 19 hours. It was just go, go, go. A North Carolina native holds degrees in physics and medicine. In fact, he was an emergency
This is
medicine.
so exciting.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Mission specialist Kayla Barron. she's
As
about to
this
make her
launch
first trip to space.
continued to
And
get
this launch
delayed
will
due
work
to
closely
weather
with the
and
commander and pilot to monitor the spacecraft
there was
during the
some
dynamic phases
minor
of
health
flight.
concerns
The
with
Washington State native has
one of
degrees
the
in nuclear
crew members. I'm not sure if they
engineering
ever
and systems engineering.
said who or what
As a
that was
submarine
about,
warfare
but
officer, she was a member of the
anyway,
first
there were
class
some
of
delays.
women
So
commissioned
Crew
into the
3 did not
submarine
actually get
community.
to shake
And she
hands with
deployed
Crew
3
2
times
on
while
the
serving
ISS,
aboard the USS Maine.
which was I was kind
Lastly,
of looking
on the
forward to
end
that,
there in
as
this
well as
shot
having 2
is mission specialist
crew
Matthias
capsules up
who
at
will
the
be making
ISS
his
at the same
debut
time.
spaceflight.
That's kind
He
of a
will be the
neat
second
thing,
European
not an
astronaut to
everyday
fly on
occurrence.
Crew Dragon. Bauer is from
So,
Sankt Wendel,
but
Germany, and is a
I'm
doctor
very
in
excited
materials science and engineering. He
to
is
have
the
Crew 2
inventor
back
of more
here
than 10 patent
with boots on the
applications,
ground
and he
safely
joined the European
and
Astronaut Corps in
waving around
2015.
and doing
Bauer
their
has spent
their
16
interviews
days
and
underwater training
post-flight
during the
things
NASA
and
Extreme
whatnot.
Environment Mission Operations
And
Challenge,
now we get
and
to
he's trained
see
in sea
Crew
survival
3
training off the coast
head on up.
of China.
Very,
And an
very
interesting note
exciting.
about Bauer, he will
Looking
become
quite forward.
600th
We are
person in
just
space.
about
600.
18 minutes
Yes,
to lift
even
off.
though, all 4 crew members will be traveling to space at
and
the
about
same time.
5
We
minutes
have to
from our
assign numbers, and
handoff.
he is number
So
600.
once
He's
again, for
landed
those
on that big
viewing,
milestone. Chari gets 599.
hopefully you won't
Barron
even
is
notice that we've
601.
handed off.
What was Shannon Walker?
So
You know, I
everything
believe I
should
was
just shift over
number
nice
518.
and smooth.
But don't quote me, I could be wrong, but it's in the early 500s.
We'll take a look at the NASA history books box and
yes,
we'll figure it out. Each of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 66 once they arrive at the International Space Station, where Anton Shkaplerov is currently commander of the space station. you spent some time as the commander?
Once again, there is the Discord link there. Good for the first 10 people to click on it. We will repost that in the new stream chat once we do our handoff. So any clicks that are available will still be there. And if you happen to miss it over here, you can catch it over there. But you know, we decided we're just gonna throw out a few free invites to our Discord and hang out with a few more of our wonderful audience members. So, yes, and yes, it is a work in progress, Ampri. In fact, it's been a while since Mr. Producer has shown off any sort of update on that. I think we've had him a little bit busy with other things on the back end. So
the impossible is routine, and it's just such a tremendous organization. You know, it's been voted the best place to
I'm not
work in
funding
the
that
federal
one.
government for the last
600 bucks.
So is it any wonder that everybody's excited all the time? And here's another reason what we're going to do tonight.
Absolutely. And you launched on the space shuttle 61C years ago. How did that experience change you, and how do you think it's going to change the astronauts that are going to space for the first time tonight?
Can't you just go through all the movies and pull out those excerpts?
You look back at Earth.
Enough. What about like behind the scenes footage? Is there any of that?
And you see this beautiful creation, our home, the planet, suspended in the middle of nothing. It makes you want to be a better steward of our planet. It's extraordinary. As you orbit the Earth every 90 minutes, and then, of course, the properties of microgravity in space. We're learning how to make new materials, new drugs. All of these things are going to come in a commercial operation that we're taking off the surface of the Earth.
Mr. Producer says he might down the road do a private funding round to come up with that $600.
Speaking of the success of this program,
and get that set up. But it would be totally separate from anything else, because it would not be quite as quite as much of a value add process to what we're doing at Total Space. Although it would be kind of fun to have. I don't know that we would be
and still
would be all that active.
Have difficulty making
all right.
Transition, but the proof's in the pudding, and the pudding is out there on Launch Pad 39A right now. A commercial operation with considerable NASA help and oversight, because when it comes to the safety of
I don't have that set
NASA's
up
gonna be
either.
all over it.
I mean, I can.
There's the proof.
I can hide
commercial operation.
things.
NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, thank you so much for your time. Daryl, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Marie, and Administrator Nelson. Some good.
All right, everybody, we're going to be doing our transition now. I will be right back with all of you.